My name is Allison Reeves, and I never thought I'd find myself plotting revenge against my own sister. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, doesn't it? Allison, you still go to the movies alone. A mocking voice jolts me at the ticket counter. I freeze, my hand hovering over my wallet. That voice. I'd recognize it anywhere, even after all this time. I turn slowly, plastering on a smile that feels more like a grimace.
Derek.
What a surprise. He stands there, all 6 feet of arrogance wrapped in an expensive suit, his arm draped possessively around a petite blonde. My sister, Layla. We thought you'd given up on, well, everything. Derek continues, his lips curling into that infuriating smirk I once found charming. Good to see you're still trying. Layla giggles, a high-pitched sound that grates on my nerves. Oh, come on, Derek. Be nice. She turns to me, her blue eyes wide with faux innocence. How are you, sis? It's been ages. I clench my fists, willing myself not to react. I'm fine, Layla. Just fine. Derek's eyes narrow, clearly disappointed by my lack of response. Well, isn't this cozy? A little family reunion at the cinema. Maybe we should all watch the movie together, for old time's sake. I'd rather gouge my eyes out with a rusty spoon. I mutter under my breath. What was that, darling? Derek leans in, his breath hot on my ear. Speak up. You know how I hate it when you mumble. I step back, my heart racing. I said, no thank you. I'm meeting someone. Layla's eyebrows shoot up. Oh, a date. Something like that. I lie, desperate to escape this nightmare. Derek laughs, the sound echoing through the lobby. Well, Allison Reeves, back in the dating game. This I've got to see. Who's the lucky guy? As if on cue, a warm hand settles on my lower back. Sorry I'm late, babe. Traffic was a nightmare. I turn, shocked, to find myself staring into the kindest pair of brown eyes I've ever seen. The stranger winks at me, then extends his hand to Derek. I'm Matthew. And you are? Derek's smug expression falters for a moment before he recovers.
Derek.
Allison's ex-fiancé. And this is Layla, her sister. My fiancé. Matthew's eyebrows rise slightly, but his smile never wavers. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you both. But if you'll excuse us, we have a movie to catch. As Matthew guides me away, I can't help but wonder, who is this knight in shining armor? And why do I have a feeling my life is about to get a lot more complicated? The movie theater encounter left me shaken. As I lay in bed that night, memories I'd tried so hard to bury came flooding back. 6 months ago, I'd walked into our shared apartment, exhausted from a long day at work. The sound of giggling stopped me cold. I recognized that laugh, Layla's. But what was she doing here? I crept towards the bedroom, my heart pounding. The door was ajar, and through the crack I saw them. Derek and Layla, tangled in our sheets, lost in each other.
Derek.
My voice cracked. They sprang apart, guilty expressions etched on their faces. Derek recovered first, his eyes narrowing. Allison, darling. You're home early. Layla pulled the sheet up, not meeting my gaze. Sis, I can explain dash. Explain? I choked out. Explain how you're in bed with my fiancé? Derek stood, not bothering to cover himself. Oh, come on, Allison. Don't be so dramatic. It's not like you haven't seen this coming. What? I stumbled back, stunned. He advanced, his voice dripping with disdain. You really thought I'd be satisfied with you? Boring, predictable Allison? Your sister here. She knows how to keep a man interested. Layla finally looked up, a mix of shame and defiance in her eyes. I'm sorry, Allison, but we're in love. The next few weeks were a blur of venomous arguments and escalating abuse. Derek's words cut deeper than any physical blow could have. You're pathetic, Allison. No wonder I had to look elsewhere. Did you really think you were good enough for me? Face it, your own sister is better than you in every way. I finally snapped, hurling my engagement ring at him. We're done, Derek. Get out. He laughed, that cruel sound I'd come to dread. Gladly. I've got an upgrade waiting. A month later, the engagement announcement appeared in the local paper. Derek and Layla, beaming at the camera, my sister's finger adorned with my discarded ring. I spiraled, barely leaving my apartment, ignoring calls from concerned friends and family. How could I face anyone, knowing I'd been so thoroughly humiliated? But as I lay there, replaying that hellish encounter at the theater, something shifted. The pain was still there, raw and throbbing. But alongside it, a new emotion began to take root.
Rage.
White-hot and all-consuming. They thought they'd broken me, that I'd slink away, forever the pathetic ex-fiancée, the discarded sister. They had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I woke to insistent knocking. Groggily, I opened the door to find my brother, Nathan, grinning like a madman. "Rise and shine, sis. I've got a plan." I groaned. "Nathan, it's too early for your schemes." He brushed past me, heading straight for the coffee maker. "Trust me, you'll want to hear this one." As the aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, Nathan laid out his outrageous idea. "You need to start dating again. Publicly. And I've got the perfect guy." I snorted.
Yeah, right.
"Because I'm such a catch right now." "Hear me out," Nathan insisted. "My friend Matthew. He's smart, successful, and most importantly, he's got a bone to pick with Layla too." That caught my attention. "What do you mean?" Nathan's eyes gleamed. "Let's just say our dear sister has a history of manipulating men. Matthew was one of her victims a few years back. He's been looking for a way to even the score." I leaned forward, intrigued despite myself. "So, what exactly are you proposing?" "A fake relationship. You and Matthew, the new power couple. It'll drive Derek and Layla insane." The idea was tempting, but doubt crept in. "I don't know, Nathan. Isn't that stooping to their level? After what they did to you, they deserve worse." Before I could respond, there was another knock. Nathan jumped up, grinning. Perfect timing. He swung the door open, revealing a tall, handsome man with kind brown eyes. The same man from the theater. "Allison, meet Matthew." "Matthew, my sister Allison." Matthew stepped forward, offering his hand. "Nice to officially meet you, Allison. Sorry about the theater ambush." Nathan filled me in afterward. I shook his hand, feeling a spark of
Something.
"No need to apologize. You saved me from a very awkward situation." As we settled in the living room, Matthew's calm demeanor put me at ease. He listened intently as Nathan outlined the plan, occasionally glancing at me with a mix of sympathy and determination. "I'm in if you are," Matthew said finally. "But only if you're comfortable with this, Allison. No pressure." I took a deep breath, weighing my options. The thought of Derek and Layla's smug faces flashed through my mind, igniting that spark of rage again. "Let's do it," I heard myself say. "Let's make them pay." Matthew's smile was both charming and slightly dangerous. "I was hoping you'd say that. Layla has a lot to answer for, and I think it's time we taught her and Derek a lesson they won't forget." As we began to hash out the details of our scheme, I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. This was either going to be the best decision I'd ever made, or the worst mistake of my life. Over the next few weeks, Matthew and I carefully orchestrated our faux relationship. We started small, with chance encounters at local hotspots frequented by Derek and Layla's crowd. "Ready for this?" Matthew asked, squeezing my hand as we approached the trendy cafe. I took a deep breath. "As I'll ever be." We walked in, laughing at some imaginary joke. I felt eyes on us immediately. Whispers rippled through the room. "Is that Allison? With Matthew Caldwell? Didn't she just break up with Derek?" We played our parts perfectly, lost in conversation, oblivious to the stares. As we left, I caught sight of a familiar face. Layla's best friend, Jessica, furiously typing on her phone. "Mission accomplished," Matthew murmured. Sure enough, my phone buzzed that evening with a text from Layla. "Since when are you dating Matthew Caldwell?" I smirked, leaving her on read. As our relationship progressed, Matthew and I spent more time together, refining our backstory. During one such planning session, I noticed a shadow cross his face. "What is it?" I asked. He hesitated. There's something you should know about Layla and me. Matthew's revelation left me reeling. He'd dated Layla briefly, years ago. She'd manipulated him, using inside information to sabotage a major business deal. She cost me millions, Matthew said, his voice tight, and nearly ruined my reputation. I felt sick. God, Matthew, I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was capable of that. He shrugged, but I could see the pain in his eyes. It's in the past. But it's why I agreed to this plan. Layla needs to face consequences for once in her life. As we delved deeper into our scheme, I found myself genuinely enjoying Matthew's company. His dry wit made me laugh, and his quiet strength was comforting. One evening, as we strolled through the park, our hands intertwined for the benefit of onlookers, I realized how natural it felt. You know, Matthew said softly, sometimes I forget this isn't real. I looked up at him, my heart skipping a beat. Me too. The moment was shattered by a familiar, grating laugh. We turned to see Derek and Layla approaching, arm in arm. Well, Derek drawled. Isn't this cozy? Layla's eyes narrowed as she took in our linked hands. Matthew.
What?
Surprise. Matthew's arm tightened around my waist.
Derek, Layla.
Lovely evening, isn't it? The tension crackled between us. I steeled myself, ready for whatever came next. This was it, the true test of our deception. And I was determined to make them believe every second of it. The annual charity gala was in full swing, the city's elite mingling in their finest attire. Matthew and I stood just outside the grand ballroom, his hand resting lightly on my lower back. Ready, he whispered. I took a deep breath, smoothing my emerald gown. Let's do this. We made our entrance, fashionably late. Heads turned, whispers erupted. I caught sight of Derek and Layla across the room, their smug smiles faltering as they noticed us. Matthew led me to the bar, his charm on full display as he ordered our drinks. I felt Derek's eyes boring into my back. Well, came his voice, dripping with false warmth. If it isn't the happy couple. We turned, Matthew's arm sliding protectively around my waist. Derek, Layla, I said coolly. Lovely to see you both. Layla's eyes narrowed, taking in my dress, my hair, the way Matthew held me. I must say, Allison, I'm surprised to see you here. These events aren't usually your scene. I smiled, saccharine sweet. Oh, but there now. Matthew's been introducing me to all sorts of new experiences. Derek's jaw tightened. How nice. And Matthew, I hear your company's stock is on the rise. Congratulations. Matthew nodded, his expression unreadable.
Thank you, Derek.
It's been a good year. Though I wonder, Derek continued, a glint in his eye, how much of that success is due to your personal connections? The implication hung in the air. I felt Matthew tense beside me. Actually, I interjected, my voice sharp. Matthew's success is entirely his own. Unlike some people, he doesn't need to rely on manipulation and underhanded tactics to get ahead. Derek's smile turned brittle. Careful, Allison. You wouldn't want to say something you might regret. Oh, I think there's been quite enough regret between us already, don't you? I shot back. The tension crackled. Layla tugged at Derek's arm. Darling, let's dance. As they moved away, I caught Layla glancing back, something unreadable in her expression. Matthew squeezed my hand. You are brilliant. I let out a shaky breath. God, that felt good. We spent the rest of the evening working the room, charming guests and subtly dropping hints about Derek's questionable business practices. By the end of the night, I could see the strain on both Derek and Layla's faces as they tried to maintain their facade. As Matthew helped me into our waiting car, I felt a mix of exhilaration and unease. We'd struck the first blow, but I knew Derek wouldn't go down without a fight. What now? I asked as we pulled away from the gala. Matthew's eyes gleamed in the darkness. Now, we turn up the heat. The weeks following the gala were a whirlwind. Matthew and I continued our charade, but something had shifted. Our touches lingered. Our laughter felt more genuine. I found myself looking forward to our fake dates, my heart racing every time he smiled at me. Meanwhile, Derek and Layla's perfect facade began to crumble. It started small, whispers at social gatherings, curious glances from business associates. Then came the bombshell. "Allison, you need to see this," Matthew said, handing me his tablet one morning. The headline screamed, "Tech mogul Derek Chambers under investigation for fraud." I scanned the article, my eyes widening. "How did you?" Matthew's eyes glinted. "Let's just say I had some friends look into Derek's business practices. Turns out, he's been cooking the books for years." The fallout was spectacular. Derek's company's stock plummeted. Investors fled in droves. I watched from afar as he grew increasingly erratic, lashing out at reporters and colleagues alike. Layla wasn't faring much better. One evening, while Matthew and I were having dinner at an upscale restaurant, we witnessed her very public meltdown. She stormed in, mascara streaking her cheeks, and headed straight for the bar. "Another," she slurred, slamming her empty glass down. The bartender hesitated. "Ma'am, I think you've had enough." Layla's shriek echoed through the restaurant. "Don't you know who I am? I'm Layla Chambers. I deserve respect." As security escorted her out, her eyes locked with mine. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the sister I once knew, scared, vulnerable. Then it was gone, replaced by cold fury. That night, as Matthew drove me home, I felt a twinge of guilt. "Are we going too far?" He took my hand, his touch sending sparks through me. "Allison, remember what they did to you."
To us.
"They're facing the consequences of their own actions." I nodded, but the unease lingered. It grew stronger when I arrived home to find a manila envelope slipped under my door. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Matthew and me at various locations over the past months. And one of Matthew, years younger, with his arm around Layla. My hands shook as I read the accompanying note. "Two can play at this game, sis. How well do you really know your new boyfriend?" Doubt crept in, poisonous and insidious. Was Matthew truly on my side, or was I being played again? As I stared at the photos, my phone buzzed with a text from Matthew. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Sweet dreams, beautiful." I closed my eyes, torn between my growing feelings for Matthew and the fear that I was walking into another trap. One thing was clear, this game was far from over. The annual charity gala, once Derek and Layla's crowning social event, was now our stage for the final act. Matthew and I arrived, arm in arm, a united front against the storm we were about to unleash. "Are you ready?" Matthew whispered, his breath warm against my ear. I nodded, steeling myself. "Let's finish this." We made our way through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries and knowing glances with key players we'd carefully cultivated over the past months. The air crackled with anticipation. Suddenly, a hush fell over the room. Derek and Layla had arrived, their smiles strained, eyes darting nervously. They looked like cornered animals, sensing the trap, but unable to escape. As the evening progressed, we set our plan in motion. Matthew took the stage, ostensibly to announce a generous donation. Instead, he cleared his throat and said, "Before we continue, there's something everyone needs to know." With a nod to the technician, a series of damning emails and financial records flashed across the giant screen behind him. Gasps echoed through the ballroom as Derek's fraudulent practices were laid bare for all to see. "Derek Chambers has been embezzling funds from his own charity for years," Matthew announced, his voice steady and clear. Derek lunged forward, face contorted with rage. "You lying bastard. I'll sue you for every penny dash." "Save it, Derek." I cut in, stepping onto the stage. "We have proof. It's over." Layla, wild-eyed and desperate, grabbed the microphone. "You can't believe them. Allison's just jealous because Derek chose me. She's always been pathetic, always dash." Her words devolved into incoherent shrieks as security guards gently but firmly escorted her off stage. The crowd watched in stunned silence as my once perfect sister crumbled before their eyes. Derek, seeing his world implode, made a desperate lunge for Matthew. You ruined everything, he snarled. In that moment, years of pent-up anger and pain surged through me. I stepped between them, my voice low and dangerous. No, Derek. You did this to yourself. You and Layla destroyed lives without a second thought. Now you're reaping what you've sown. As the police arrived to take Derek into custody, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. It was done. We'd won. But as I turned to Matthew, ready to celebrate our victory, I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Regret? Guilt? Before I could question it, he pulled me close and whispered, "There's something I need to tell you, Allison. Something about Layla and me." My blood ran cold. Had I been played again? As the chaos swirled around us, I realized that this night was far from over. The real truth was yet to be revealed. Matthew's revelation left me reeling. He and Layla had indeed been involved, but not in the way I'd feared. They'd worked together to expose Derek's corruption long before I entered the picture. Layla, racked with guilt over betraying me, had played the villain to ensure Derek's downfall. "She loved you, Allison," Matthew said softly. "She couldn't bear what she'd done to you." I sat in stunned silence, processing this new reality. The anger that had fueled me for so long began to ebb, replaced by a bittersweet understanding. In the weeks that followed, the dust began to settle. Derek faced multiple charges, his empire crumbling around him. Layla, free from his influence, checked herself into rehab, determined to make amends. As for Matthew and me, we faced our own reckoning. The pretense of our relationship had long since faded, replaced by something real and profound. But trust, once shattered, isn't easily rebuilt. "I understand if this changes everything," Matthew said one evening, his eyes filled with apprehension. I took his hand, feeling the warmth of his touch. "It changes things, yes, but not everything." We decided to start over, this time with complete honesty. No more games, no more secrets. Months passed. Derek's trial made headlines, his fall from grace complete. Layla emerged from rehab, humbled and seeking reconciliation. Our first meeting was awkward, tears flowing freely as years of hurt and misunderstanding came to the surface. "I'm so sorry, Allison," Layla whispered, "for everything." It wasn't instant forgiveness, but it was a start. As winter turned to spring, I found myself standing on a beach at sunset, Matthew by my side. No audience, no pretense. Just us. "Allison," he began, dropping to one knee, "these past months have taught me what real love is. It's not about revenge or winning. It's about forgiveness, growth, and choosing each other every day. Will you marry me?" Tears blurred my vision as I nodded, pulling him to his feet and into a kiss. Later, as we celebrated with Nathan and my mother, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. The pain, the betrayal, the thirst for revenge, it had all led to this moment of joy and healing. Derek and Layla's actions had nearly destroyed me, but in rising above the hurt, in choosing love over hate, I'd found a strength I never knew I possessed. As I looked around at the faces of those I loved, Matthew, Nathan, my mother, and yes, even Layla, I realized that true victory wasn't in bringing others down. It was in lifting ourselves up, in finding the courage to trust and love again. The dust had settled, revealing not ruins, but a foundation for a beautiful new beginning.
My name is Leela. I met Gilbert at work, and after a year of dating, we got married. Now, I'm a stay-at-home mom, caring for our 3-year-old daughter, Aria. Though I'm in my late 30s, Aria's boundless energy keeps me feeling more fit than ever. Honestly, she's the reason I keep going these days. Things changed when Aria started preschool. It was around then that Natalie, my mother-in-law, began treating me harshly. It's gotten so bad that I spend all my free time, while Aria is at school, at my in-laws' house. It started unexpectedly when I received a message from Natalie, demanding I come over immediately. When I arrived, she handed me a broom and coldly instructed, "Let's start with the entrance." I was shocked and stood there, speechless. Natalie glared at me, barking, "Why are you just standing there? Clean. Don't think you can relax just because Aria's in school." It's a wife's duty to care for her husband's family home. I could lenient, but no more. After cleaning the entrance, I was made to scrub the hallway, toilets, and bathrooms, followed by preparing meals, tidying up, and even cleaning the storeroom and washing windows. I couldn't help but wonder why I had to do all this, but Natalie's domineering presence left me no room to protest. By the time I finished, it was already time to pick up Aria from preschool. Exhausted and hungry, having skipped lunch, I left my in-laws' house. From that day on, Natalie regularly summoned me, piling on chores until the very last minute before I had to leave to pick up Aria. I began to resent how much this was cutting into my time with her. I mentioned it to Gilbert the first time Natalie called me over. He just laughed and said, "Mom's right. I work hard for the family. It doesn't make sense for you to just lounge around at home." Lately, it feels like Gilbert is looking down on me. He doesn't get involved in household matters or with Aria, constantly reminding me, "We can live because I'm the one earning money," while ordering me around. The worst part was when he smirked and said, "If you don't listen, I can always cut back on our living expenses." I've thought about divorce more times than I can count, but Aria holds me back. I can't bring myself to separate her from her father, especially when I have no money to support us. My savings have dwindled due to wedding expenses, the honeymoon, and daily needs. Becoming a housewife left me with little choice but to endure for Aria's sake. And so I continue to live each day just getting by. A few weeks after I started being summoned to my in-laws' house, Olivia got married. On the surface, that seemed like good news, but her marriage brought new challenges. Now that Olivia was a housewife, she began visiting my in-laws more frequently. She had never been happy that Gilbert and I married before she did, and her resentment was directed squarely at me, not her younger brother. Every time we crossed paths, she would lecture me for nearly an hour, pointing out all the ways I fell short as Gilbert's wife or criticizing my appearance. I used to swallow my pride and nod along, but even that didn't seem to satisfy Olivia. If I'm submissive to Natalie, Olivia must find it laughable. As if Natalie's constant demands weren't enough, Olivia joined in, treating me like her personal maid. On days when I finished cleaning my in-laws' house quickly, she would drag me to her own place to do the same. "Leela, your hair is a mess. Stop walking around with that plain face and put on some makeup. If you keep this up, Gilbert will get bored and look for someone else." One day, after dropping off Aria and rushing to complete errands, I arrived at my in-laws' house, only to be ambushed by Olivia at the entrance. "If only you were having an affair, life would be so much easier," she sneered. As harsh as it sounded, a part of me wondered if she was right. There I was, with my hair pulled back in a messy bun, while Olivia stood before me with her hair perfectly curled and her makeup flawless. Her nails were impeccably manicured, and her husband worked at a top-tier company, providing them with a comfortable life. When was the last time I treated myself to a visit to the salon? I couldn't even remember. I'd been putting off getting a haircut for ages. Time and money were luxuries I didn't have. On the days when Gilbert was away, I often got summoned to my in-laws' house. They never called me over when he was around, which made me suspect that Gilbert knew all about it. Each time, I'd leave Aria with my parents and head to my in-laws' place. I'd grown increasingly distant from the people around me, but I still kept in touch with Caitlin, a colleague from work. Caitlin had been my friend since before I started dating Gilbert, and she'd always been a great listener. But I couldn't bring myself to talk to her about my current situation.
"Hi, it's unusual for you to call this late. Is Aria asleep?" Caitlin's voice was familiar and comforting, but I couldn't focus on that. "What did you mean by that message?" I asked, not wasting any time. "Huh? Did something happen?" Gilbert was just bragging about it at the party. According to Caitlin, Gilbert had been boasting at an office party earlier that week. He claimed he came home to take care of the cleaning and laundry, and that weekends were dedicated to spending quality time with Aria. I remembered that Gilbert used to help around the house when we first got married, but things changed after Aria was born. Despite repeatedly asking for his help, he never did. In fact, he probably stopped helping long before Aria even came along. It's infuriating that Gilbert is doing nothing at home yet is lying to get praise from others. I felt foolish for putting up with this. Gilbert looks down on me, Natalie and Olivia boss me around, and still I endure it all. As these emotions overwhelmed me, I found myself tearing up, still on the phone with Caitlin. "What's wrong? Are you okay?"
Caitlin's voice was filled with concern, and I hesitated for a moment before deciding to confide in her about Gilbert's behavior and a harassment from Natalie and Olivia. "That sounds really tough," she said, and hearing her words of sympathy, my tears flowed even more. Caitlin stayed on the line with me until I managed to calm down. "I'm always here if you need to talk," Caitlin said as I finally composed myself. "But seriously, what's Gilbert trying to achieve with these lies? It's getting late. You should get some rest. Gilbert will be home soon, right?" After a final exchange of pleasantries, Caitlin said her goodbyes and hung up. I realized we had been talking for over an hour. Gilbert had sent a message saying, "The party is still going on, so feel free to go to sleep." Something didn't sit right with me. Why would he lie? Was it for the sake of appearing better? I couldn't quite figure it out. That night, sleep eluded me as my mind raced. I woke up earlier than usual the next morning, and Gilbert still wasn't home. My doubts started to solidify into certainty. "Hey, sorry for the early call, but could you do me a favor?" I reached out to Caitlin with a request. 3 months had passed since then, and life had continued in the same frustrating pattern, being bossed around by Natalie and Olivia. However, the thought of freedom being just around the corner made things more bearable. Today, just as I had anticipated, Gilbert told me he would be late coming home from an anniversary party. "Don't wait up for me," he said, his eyes glued to his phone and wearing his favorite shirt. I forced a cheerful smile and wished him, "Have a great time." When I greeted Natalie with a Merry Christmas, she snapped, "It's your fault we're unprepared for Christmas since you didn't show up on Christmas Eve. Get everything sorted now." Olivia grabbed the Christmas cake I brought and headed to the dining room, where Gilbert was already waiting. They popped a bottle of champagne, raising it in a cheer of Merry Christmas. Even though Aria wasn't with us, she was at her grandparents'. Natalie and Olivia ignored me completely. "Don't forget the roast turkey. It's not Christmas without it," Olivia said as she carried the cake into the dining room. "And make sure dinner is prepared before you leave." Natalie and Olivia kept interrupting me in the kitchen with demands. I nodded and agreed to each request, despite their evident suspicion. Olivia, mistaking my compliance for a Christmas spirit, added, "It's just because it's Christmas," which nearly made me laugh. By the time I finished cleaning and cooking, it was nearly evening. Natalie and Olivia, who had been drinking since morning, were visibly tipsy. As soon as I declared, "I'm done," my empty stomach growled in protest. Natalie and Olivia responded with cruel laughter. "Once you're done with all that, you can leave. There's no food here for you," they said in unison as if they had rehearsed it. Gilbert, scratching his head and pointing toward the entrance, said, Sorry about them. Why don't you head home?" It was clear he saw me as nothing more than a housekeeper. He probably expected me to put up with this treatment, thinking I'd be grateful for whatever scraps of comfort I received. "Don't worry about it," I said with a forced smile as I left my in-laws' house. A few days later, I received a call from Gilbert. I hadn't returned home since Christmas, staying at my parents' house with Aria. The message was simple. "When are you coming back?" This wasn't the first time he had called, but the moment had finally arrived. What the hell is going on? Gilbert's anger was palpable even through the phone. "I'm not sure what you mean. You'll need to explain," I replied, playing dumb. "It's about the documents that arrived. They're from a lawyer. You set this up, didn't you? Stop messing around." I maintained my cold demeanor. Any objections to demanding compensation from a cheating husband? I had indeed sent him a certified letter. With Caitlin's help, I had gathered evidence and enlisted a lawyer to draft the documents. Ever since Caitlin's call, I had suspected Gilbert was having an affair. Reflecting on it, his late nights after I became pregnant with Aria seemed increasingly suspicious. He always claimed he was working overtime, but I began to wonder if that was just the cover. I asked Caitlin to verify whether Gilbert was actually working late on the nights he claimed to be. Despite the inconvenience, Caitlin agreed to help and had been monitoring him. My suspicions were confirmed. Gilbert was indeed involved with a colleague. His claims of being a dedicated family man who managed household chores were likely an attempt to impress his affair partner, who seemed to idealize such a husband. The photos Caitlin provided were damning, but I had also placed a voice recorder in Gilbert's bag during our anniversary party. The recordings of his conversations with the colleague left no room for denial. On the other end of the line, Gilbert was scrambling to come up with an excuse. But as soon as I played the recording, he fell silent. By the way, I also filed a claim against her, I said, adding more to his discomfort. She begged me for forgiveness because we're breaking up, but I'm showing no mercy. It seems you were the only one truly committed here. I pressed further. Oh, and could you let Natalie and Olivia know that their mockery only has a day left? What? What are you talking about? Gilbert's voice faltered at the mention of Natalie and Olivia. The recording has more details. You can figure it out. I've gathered all the evidence. I'm planning to sit Natalie and Olivia down with you. The rest of the recording exposed how Natalie and Olivia had been complicit in Gilbert's affair. They weren't just bossing me around. They were actively supporting his betrayal. They frequently summoned me to my in-laws' house on days Gilbert was out to prevent me from discovering the truth. I had already reported their harassment and involvement in Gilbert's affair to my father-in-law and Olivia's husband. My father-in-law, who works far away, would be arriving soon, and Olivia was likely being served divorce papers at that moment. When Gilbert called, pleading for forgiveness, I simply said, "From now on, speak with my lawyer," and ended the call. I successfully secured the agreed-upon amount for damages, property distribution, and child support for Aria. Caitlin later informed me that Gilbert had been unceremoniously dumped by his affair partner. Natalie and Olivia were also facing divorce, and it seemed they were all living together now. Natalie, who had always been a housewife, and Olivia, who had enjoyed a lavish lifestyle since her marriage, were now struggling financially. Both had to take up jobs to make ends meet. As for me, I moved back in with my parents and am enjoying a much more relaxed life with them and Aria. Aria has grown close to my parents, and now I can focus on myself and my home, using the time and energy I once spent dealing with Natalie and Olivia for more meaningful pursuits. I finally have some breathing room, both mentally and physically. Moving forward, I plan to make the most of my time with Aria and cherish our life together. You're running a lunchbox shop, and that's beneath our family's status. You're an embarrassment, so you won't be attending the wedding. These harsh words struck me during a family meeting about my son's upcoming marriage to the CEO's daughter. My late husband Joseph's cherished shop was dismissed with disdain, and I was told I was unwelcome at my own son's wedding. The pain was unbearable. But for my son's sake, I felt I had no choice. I can't jeopardize his future happiness because of me. I want nothing more than for him to be happy. So with a heavy heart, I agreed to their demands. But then something unexpected happened. An unexpected guest arrived, leaving the other parents visibly shaken. "Richard, take care of Mom for me," Joseph had whispered with a smile as he took his last breath. I thought we had so much more time together. We had promised to bring joy to others through our cooking. Growing up, my parents were always busy, so I naturally took on the task of making dinner. I cook, wrap up the leftovers, and head to bed. In the morning, the dishes were always cleaned, and there'd be a thank you note waiting for me. I wanted to make my parents happy, which is what led me to cooking. Joseph, with his passion and dream of owning a restaurant, drew me in. His enthusiasm was infectious, and soon we started dating. Cooking for Joseph, who aspired to be a chef, was both exciting and nerve-wracking. Then one day he said, "Nancy, let's open a shop together. Your cooking has the magic to make people smile, and I'm one of them. Let's make people smile together." Remembering my past efforts to bring joy to my parents, I agreed, and together, Joseph and I opened a warm and inviting lunchbox shop. I handled the mornings, and Joseph took care of the evenings. Joseph always made a point to say, "Thank you" after meals. Gratitude needs to be expressed, a phrase that still echoes in my mind. After Richard was born, life became challenging yet fulfilling. Joseph passed away before he could realize his dream, and I did my best to hide my sorrow from Richard as he grew up. He turned out to be a kind and thoughtful child, helping around the house and showing a love for cooking, just like his father. When he got his first job, he prepared a special meal to thank me. Even after he moved out, he still visited me occasionally, always checking in. Recently, Richard mentioned he'd be cooking another special meal. "What's the occasion?" I asked, curious, as such meals had become rare since he started working. As we sat down to enjoy his delicious cooking, Richard shared some news. "Mom, I'm marrying Patricia." I knew Patricia as his warm-hearted coworker, and I thought they made a wonderful pair. "That's wonderful. Make her happy, okay?" I told him. "Of course," he replied. "And Mom, I might become the next CEO. It turned out Patricia was the daughter of the CEO at Richard's company, and they were impressed with his work, even considering him as a future leader. When I heard this, I was surprised but deeply proud. As I prepared to visit Patricia's family before the wedding, I found myself reflecting on my life. William and Elizabeth Smith greeted us warmly with nothing but praise for Richard. The dining table was laden with various dishes, and a private chef was busy in the kitchen. Richard is truly exceptional, both in his work and as a person. We trust him with the future of the company, William said. We always believed Richard and Patricia were a perfect match. We cried tears of joy when we heard they were getting married. We're excited for the future. Richard, a bit shy, firmly declared, I will build a happy home with Patricia. Patricia and Richard then left the room, smiling playfully, to prepare something for us. I felt a deep sense of pride and warmth. But as soon as they left, Elizabeth's tone shifted. So, Nancy, when are you planning to quit that lunchbox shop of yours? The question caught me off guard. Quit? I never said I was quitting, I responded. Well, it's not exactly a lucrative business. Why keep running such a small lunchbox shop? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That lunchbox shop. Why are you saying this? That shop is precious to me and my late husband Joseph. Elizabeth's expression hardened. It's not like you're offering anything special. The Smith family runs a major corporation with hundreds of employees. Your small-town lunchbox shop doesn't match our status. We were fine with Richard, but we can't accept that his family runs such a modest business. We assumed you were planning to quit, which is why we moved forward with the wedding plans. I was stunned. The words didn't seem real, or maybe I simply didn't want to believe them. Was my shop really the reason Richard might not be able to marry? How could the scale of our business impact my son's marriage? It's a significant difference, objectively speaking. Elizabeth is right. How can we tell people that the family of our future CEO runs an outdated lunchbox shop? William added, Don't belittle it just because it's a lunchbox shop. I retorted, my voice trembling with emotion. But Elizabeth just snorted and delivered the final blow. Enough. You're an embarrassment to our family with that lunchbox shop. You won't be attending the wedding, not just the wedding. If you keep running the shop, we'll cut ties with Richard as well. Do you intend to hold him back? Their words pierced my heart. I was overwhelmed by a mix of emptiness and anger. I had been so happy that Richard was finding his own happiness. He's my pride and joy. Please let me see him get married, even if it's from the shadows. The words tumbled out of my mouth, even though I could hardly believe I was saying them. Why should I have to watch my son's wedding from the shadows? But my brain was reeling, and I couldn't keep up with my own thoughts. I'm sorry, but even if you were in the shadows, Richard and Patricia might still notice something. We'll just say you had an emergency and couldn't attend. At that moment, I heard Richard and Patricia's voices as they returned to the room. He'll be back soon. If I just give in to William and Elizabeth's demands, these two can live happily. If I can just endure this, everything will work out, right? Nancy, what do you think? All right, sorry for the wait. Here's a gift from us to the three of you. Oh, what a relief. You two prepared such a wonderful gift. I'm so happy. Thank you. I didn't expect something so thoughtful. Elizabeth received a music box, President William got whiskey, and I was given an apron. Patricia explained, We thought you might like the apron since you're always cooking such delicious meals at the shop. We weren't sure if you'd enjoy it. Ah, thank you. I'll cherish it, I replied, though tears began to well up in my eyes. Mom, why are you crying so much? Richard asked, surprised but with a warm smile. This apron will be my last memory, I thought, as I etched the smiles of Richard and Patricia deeply into my heart. Be happy, I wished them silently. On the day of the wedding, I found myself sitting on the living room floor, still in my pajamas, unable even to muster the energy to turn on the lights. My phone was filled with missed calls from Richard and Patricia. Since that day, I hadn't known how to interact with Richard, who was so excited about the wedding. All I could offer him were cliché words, while I clutched the apron they had given me, celebrating their union alone, tears streaming down my face. The next day, I was startled awake by the persistent ringing of the doorbell. I knew instantly that it was Richard, and indeed, there he was, with Patricia. On the first day of their new life together, they had come all the way to my house. As soon as I opened the door, Richard, unable to hide his anxiety, blurted out, Mom, What happened? We were worried because we knew you wouldn't forget the wedding. Why didn't you come? Nancy, was it something I did? Their faces were pale, a stark contrast to the joy they should have been feeling. I hadn't expected to face them like this the day after their wedding. Mom, please, I need to know, Richard pleaded. Seeing their concerned expressions, I knew I couldn't sugarcoat the truth. Let's talk. Come in. I invited them inside and told them everything that President William and Elizabeth had said to me when they stepped out. I hesitated, wondering if I should reveal it all. But I couldn't hold back. As I spoke, Richard's face gradually tensed up, while Patricia seemed utterly shocked. What is this? How could they say such terrible things to you, Nancy? This is unbelievable. Tears welled up in Patricia's eyes, a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief written all over her face. Nancy, I don't know how to apologize for my parents. I'm so sorry, Patricia said, her voice heavy with guilt. Stop it, Patricia. You've done nothing wrong. I'm sorry for causing you pain the day after your wedding, I replied gently. Mom, thank you for telling us. Richard spoke calmly, his voice filled with resolve. After a while, Patricia left my home. The next day, the doorbell rang again. Could it be Richard? I opened the door to find President William and Elizabeth standing there, their faces contorted with anger.
What have you done? Enough of your games, they shouted, their fury barely contained. I remained emotionless, absorbing their outbursts. What's the matter? You come here shouting and disturbing the neighbors, I said, my voice steady. Disturbing? We're not worried about the neighbors. You've ruined everything. It seems like you're the ones who've ruined things, I replied calmly. What are you talking about? You must have filled Patricia and Richard's heads with nonsense. Richard even handed in his resignation. And now Patricia is talking about cutting ties with us. You orchestrated this, didn't you? I hadn't asked for any of this, nor had I orchestrated anything. Richard's determined look now made sense, and while I felt a sense of relief, I was also uncertain about how to navigate the situation. I decided to tell them the truth. Don't accuse me of manipulating them. I believe they made their own decisions, I said. Stop playing games, Elizabeth snapped. I'd like to say the same to you, I responded, holding my ground. What is this? Are you trying to ruin our company? President William shouted, his face flushed with anger. Just then, a sleek black luxury car pulled up in front of the house. The door opened, and we all gasped as Richard stepped out, followed by Patricia, and then an elderly gentleman. Nancy, long time no see. I apologize for the recent rudeness, the elderly man said, his tone calm yet commanding. Dad, why are you here? Do you know this person? President William stammered, visibly shaken. Don't ask so many questions. Nancy's father is a successful businessman who runs multiple companies. We owe him a great deal. Nancy is also involved in the business as an executive. Didn't you know that? The elderly man replied. It was David Smith, President William's father and Patricia's grandfather, currently serving as the chairman of the company. I had met him at board meetings at my father's company, but it had been a while. President William paled at David's words, the weight of the situation finally sinking in. You can't be serious. You don't even know the management of your business partners. Shame on you. And yet you have the audacity to talk about cutting ties and barring someone from attending their own son's wedding. That's utterly disrespectful. David's words echoed through the room, cutting through the tension like a knife. His reprimand wasn't just directed at William and Elizabeth. It involved me, Richard, and Patricia. The shock and despair on William and Elizabeth's faces were unmistakable. A week later, I found myself at a board meeting at my father's company where I ran into President William. He gave me a brief nod and quickly moved away, clearly trying to avoid any interaction. As I watched him walk away, I made up my mind. For the sake of Richard and Patricia, things couldn't stay like this. After the meeting, I caught up with President William as he was hurrying out. President William, we're hosting a small celebration at my shop this weekend for my son's wedding. Would you like to join us? I asked, my tone inviting. Well, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to. Please don't say that. It's a good opportunity to mend fences. We had some issues at the wedding, but why not start fresh? I suggested. Why would you want that after everything that happened? He asked, clearly taken aback. I was hurt, yes, but Patricia was the first to apologize. I want those two to be happy, and I think you do too.
We both share that wish, don't we? Will you join us? After a moment of hesitation, President William nodded. I'm truly sorry. I'll join the celebration, he agreed, his voice sincere. On the day of the event, when President William and Elizabeth walked into my lunch shop, Richard and Patricia immediately stood up, ready to say something, but I stepped forward to greet them first. Thank you for coming today. It's a bit cramped since we set up the dining area where we usually display the lunch boxes, but let's enjoy ourselves, I said warmly. What's the meaning of this? Patricia asked, glaring at her parents. Patricia, I invited them. We can't continue like this. We can't forget what happened at the wedding. But we can make better memories moving forward. And remember, you can't just sever ties with family, I said gently. I have a request as well, I added, turning to Elizabeth. Thank you for raising Patricia to be such a wonderful person. Elizabeth looked at me, her expression filled with regret. I said such terrible things. It's because Patricia, who met Richard, is truly wonderful. I learned from Joseph that gratitude should always be expressed, I said, smiling at the woman who would soon be part of my extended family.
It took time, but eventually, the tension between the newlyweds and their parents eased. Now we gather for a meal together once a month, sharing stories and laughter. Elizabeth has even started buying lunch boxes for my shop. Today, as always, I greet her wearing the apron that Richard and Patricia gave me. Welcome, everyone. Let's bring smiles through cooking. How many people genuinely have good relationships with their mother-in-law? I often wonder about this, especially given my own turbulent relationship with mine, Mary. It's not that I ever disliked her. I truly wanted to get along with her from the start. But ever since my husband and I got married, it feels like Mary has been twisting my intentions, making it difficult to build the connection I hoped for. My husband and I got married 4 years ago after meeting through mutual friends. We clicked instantly and started dating soon after. On our 3rd anniversary, he proposed. Though he's a man of few words, his kindness and steady presence have always been a source of comfort for me. When he asked me to marry him, I didn't hesitate. I said yes, and we happily tied the knot. As for my in-laws, I initially had no strong opinions about them. Our interactions during family gatherings were always polite and cordial, with no underlying tension. I assumed that as long as we maintained a respectful distance, we'd get along just fine. Then came our first Christmas as a married couple, and that's when the trouble began. At the time, I was pregnant with our daughter. Although I wasn't showing much, I was careful to take it easy since it was my first pregnancy. But as soon as we arrived at my in-laws' house for the holidays, Mary immediately put me to work preparing the Christmas dinner. My husband was busy drinking with my father-in-law, Bob, and didn't notice how Mary was treating me. She had me cooking, cleaning, and running around nonstop. Whenever I tried to take a break for the sake of the baby, she would snap. What are you doing just sitting there? You need to know your place. Being pregnant doesn't give you a free pass to slack off. She would insist that I get back on my feet and continue working. Despite following her every command, the next set of demands was never far behind. So much for a relaxing holiday. I never imagined our first visit to the in-laws' house would leave me so utterly drained. By the time we got back in the car, I was completely exhausted. My husband should have noticed the tension between Mary and me, and it frustrated me that he seemed oblivious. But he had been busy enjoying himself, chatting and drinking with Bob, so maybe he just wasn't paying attention. I couldn't bring myself to confront him about it. After that visit, our daughter was born, and the following summer, we went to my parents' house. My parents live about an hour away from our apartment, just like my in-laws, so we see them every few months. However, Christmas at the in-laws became an annual tradition, and the pressure to visit them more often intensified after our daughter arrived. They probably just wanted to see her, but for me, it was a constant source of stress. Each visit to the in-laws meant no chance to relax, with Mary always finding something for me to do. I knew exactly what I was walking into, and if it were up to me, I wouldn't have gone at all. But with our daughter still so young, leaving her behind wasn't an option. My husband, as clueless as ever, didn't seem to notice how miserable Mary was making my life. The only one who seemed to get it was Bob. But at the in-laws' house, he was practically invisible. He never stood up to Mary, so she avoided harassing me openly when my husband was around.
But if Bob was the only one present, she'd make snide remarks and assign me tasks. Mary would have me prepare meals and then insist I serve only my husband and Bob, saying, "We'll eat later. We have chores to do." She'd then eat in the kitchen, leaving nothing for me. If we all sat at the table together, she'd eat my portion of the side dishes and say, "Emma, you said you didn't like this, remember?" Deprived of a side dish, I'd sit there quietly while my husband, genuinely surprised, would ask, "Oh, you didn't like it?" Mary would then turn to him and say, "See, you have to keep track. Emma is so picky," which was pure nonsense. I'm not picky at all and generally eat whatever is served to me. But dealing with Mary's subtle harassment had become increasingly tiresome. During one 2-night stay, I managed to eat only one proper meal. This sort of thing had become so routine that I started bringing my own emergency snacks, like sweet bread and cookies, whenever we visited the in-laws. I would quietly eat them in the kitchen afterward since no meal was prepared for me anyway. When Mary noticed, she would mock me, saying, "Isn't it a bit much to bring your own food? Shouldn't a daughter-in-law show some restraint?" By then, I had learned to tune her out to some extent. While her comments still irritated me, I no longer felt like a failure as a daughter-in-law.
This pattern continued for several years after our daughter was born. By the 5th year of our marriage, I was pregnant with our second child. As usual, we went to the in-laws' house for Christmas, but this time, my husband was acting a bit differently. As soon as we arrived, Mary was on me as usual. "Emma, can you help with the Christmas dinner?" she asked, knowing full well that helping really meant doing everything myself. I agreed, saying, "All right." But then something unexpected happened. My husband, who normally would have started drinking with Bob right away, seemed to have been paying attention to our conversation. "No, Emma can sit this time. She's pregnant with our second child," he said kindly. When I tried to protest, he sharply interrupted. "Just sit down." I was shocked to see him so angry. It was completely out of character for him. Just as I was about to sit, Mary chimed in. "Look, things go faster when women handle these tasks. Emma helps me every month, so just sit down, okay? Come on, Emma." Feeling powerless, I complied, unable to do anything else. As expected, I ended up being bossed around by Mary, but today felt different. My husband was acting strangely. As we headed to the kitchen, he followed us. Once there, he asked, "Mom, where's Emma going to sit? You're going to help too, right?" Mary, trying to keep up appearances, quickly fetched a chair and placed it in front of me, saying, "Here, sit down, Emma. You're pregnant after all." Her tone was uncharacteristically kind, and my husband just stood there, silently observing. Although he didn't interfere, his watchful gaze made Mary restless. Trying to get rid of him, she suggested, "Why don't you go have a drink with Dad?" But my husband didn't budge. Then our daughter started fussing, catching Mary's attention. "Listen, Betty's crying." "Go soothe her," she urged. Finally, my husband left the kitchen. The moment he was out of sight, Mary sighed and said, "Oh, I'm tired, Emma. Just finish the rest yourself. Stand up. Pregnancy isn't an illness." She grabbed the chair from me and sat down, clearly relieved. But her relief didn't last long. My husband soon returned, carrying our daughter. Surprised, Mary tried to stand up quickly and ended up stumbling with the chair. My husband shot her a cold glare. "Why are you sitting, Mom, while Emma is standing?" Flustered, Mary stammered. "Oh, my back just started hurting a bit. I just switched places for a second." She quickly returned the chair to me. With my husband's presence, Mary actually helped with the Christmas dinner prep, and we finished in half the usual time. Still, my husband made an unexpected remark. "This was much quicker than usual, even though you both should be working on this every year." His words hung in the air, leaving a strange tension. Mary, trying to regain control, forced a smile and said, "I'm going to start preparing dinner. Why don't you go to the living room with Betty?" But my husband didn't move. Instead, he asked, "Mom, why don't you want me in here? Is there something you're trying to hide?" Clearly flustered, Mary managed to stammer, "No, not really." He sighed, "Call me if you need anything," and returned to the living room with our daughter. As soon as he was out of earshot, Mary shot me a glare. "Did you say something to John?" she hissed. Equally surprised, I replied, "I haven't said anything. I don't know what you're talking about." Exhaling in frustration, Mary muttered, "Fine, whatever. After dinner, you'll be cleaning upstairs. You know the drill. You do it every year."
Dinner was prepared as usual, and Mary served my husband, Bob, and herself first. But this time, things took a turn. My husband insisted, "We won't eat until Emma joins us." Ding, Mary's plan was foiled. So we all ended up eating together. Throughout the meal, he kept adding more side dishes to my plate, saying, "Emma, you're pregnant. You need to eat well." Normally, Mary would give me less food, assuming I disliked certain dishes, but this time she couldn't intervene. "Emma, are you sure you like that?" "You don't have to force yourself to eat," Mary said, trying to snatch the dish away from me. "No," I replied firmly. My husband interjected, "Emma eats what's given. It's better for the baby if she doesn't have food preferences." His tone left no room for argument, and Mary, for once, couldn't say anything more. After dinner, as usual, I was about to start doing the dishes, but my husband stepped in. "I'll do it today, Emma. You sit down." He took the dishes from my hands and headed to the kitchen. Mary, seeing this, leaned in and whispered, "Letting John do that? You're a failure of a daughter-in-law. Go clean upstairs." I didn't want to be in the same space as Mary, so I started to head upstairs when my husband stopped me. "Emma, where are you going?" Caught off guard, I hesitated, and before I could answer, he asked seriously, "Did Mom tell you to do something?" "Oh no," I stammered, but before I could say anything else, he took my hand and led me back to the living room. He looked angrier than I had ever seen him before. In front of Mary and Bob, he spoke up. I misunderstood because Emma didn't say anything. I thought she was getting along with Mom. Mary's face showed shock at his words. "What have you been doing to Emma, Mom?" he asked, his voice tense. Mary quickly responded, "What are you talking about? Emma and I get along just fine, right?" She looked at me, expecting me to agree. I hesitated. "Well, about that," I began, but my husband cut me off. "Every time we come back from visiting here, I've noticed Emma looking down. I was concerned but didn't press because you always seem cheerful, Mom. You haven't been harassing Emma, have you?" Mary's face flushed with anger. "I haven't done any such thing." She turned to me accusingly. "Emma, did you say something unnecessary?" She moved toward me, but my husband stepped in. "Enough," he shouted. "I've always been treated well by Emma's parents, so I assumed you were kind to her as well, Mom. But Emma looks miserable every time we leave here." He paused, his voice softer but filled with emotion. "It's true that being at my parents' house might make her feel a bit uncomfortable, but that goes both ways. Yet I've never felt unhappy when I'm at her parents' place. They're really good people." Tears welled up in his eyes, and seeing him like that, I couldn't help but tear up too. My husband turned to Mary, who was visibly uncomfortable, and asked, "Mom, can you really face Emma's parents like this? Can you honestly say you treat Emma well?" At that moment, Bob stood up, breaking the tense silence. "I'm sorry, Emma," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "I noticed that Mary had been distant with you, but I didn't say anything. I'm equally at fault. I'm truly sorry." Upon hearing this, my husband turned to Mary and said, "Mom, you should apologize to Emma too. While saying sorry won't fix everything, it's a start." But Mary wouldn't even glance at me, let alone offer an apology. My husband sighed deeply and declared, "If that's how it's going to be, Mom, then fine. We won't be coming back to this house ever again." Mary was visibly shocked. "That's not fair, is it?" she pleaded, but my husband ignored her. He began packing our things, while Mary broke down in uncontrollable sobs. Not even Bob offered her any comfort. "Let's go, Emma," my husband said, picking up our daughter and calling to me. Mary collapsed on the floor, crying, and Bob sat silently, head down. With the tension thick in the air, we left my in-laws' house. Since then, Mary has tried to call my husband multiple times, but he has blocked her number. He's severed all ties with his parents' home and hasn't returned. Instead, we've been visiting my parents more frequently. At first, my parents were puzzled by the increase in visits, but they welcomed us warmly each time. My husband often remarks, "Emma's parents are truly wonderful people." He seems to feel guilty about the difficult times I endured at his parents' home, but I'm no longer concerned. I feel stress-free now that we stopped going there. In the end, I owe my current happiness to my husband's decisive actions back then. I'm truly grateful. From now on, I want to focus on creating many happy memories with my husband, our daughter, and my parents, and continue walking a joyful path in life. Here's a gift for you. $2,000. After giving birth and moving back into my husband's family home, my mother-in-law handed me an envelope with $2,000 as a baby gift. I glanced at the contents and then tossed the envelope into the trash. Was this supposed to compensate for the endless belittling I had endured from her and the senior employees? What are you doing? Apologize to Mom. I scolded my flustered husband. Can you really look at this and not be angry? My husband, after seeing the envelope's contents, glared at his mother with a new intensity and made a decision. I'm Scarlett Wood, 28 years old. I had an arranged marriage with my husband, Elijah. He's 2 years older than me and the eldest son of a Japanese sweet shop raised with strict expectations as the heir. Despite this, he's incredibly kind and gentle. From the moment we met, his kindness drew me in. I wanted to share the beauty of Japanese sweets with the world, so I became a sweets artisan. Elijah proposed not with a ring but with a sweet crafted in my likeness, and it moved me to tears. He said, "When we marry, you'll join me as the young mistress of our shop and will live with my parents. Is that okay?" Living with his parents was a condition of our marriage. Despite the challenges that come with marrying in here, I agreed, trusting that with Elijah by my side, we could handle anything. We got married, and true to our agreement, we moved into the family home, which also housed the sweet shop. Scarlett, you're part of this family now, so you need to uphold our traditions. Behave as the young mistress should. Yes, I replied. From the moment I stepped into the family home, I was met with harsh criticism from my mother-in-law. The dream of a sweet married life seemed distant. Scarlett, how many times do I have to tell you? Learn our traditions and be aware of your role. It's difficult for our headmistress to have someone like you in the family. Daily criticism from my mother-in-law and the senior female employees became routine. My father-in-law was quiet, but his presence made me nervous, and I often made mistakes because of it. He would loudly lament, "There's no place for me to feel at ease in this house." Determined to prove myself and make Elijah proud, I persevered. Then I found out I was pregnant. Take care of yourself and give us a strong here. Everyone, including my mother-in-law, became more considerate of my condition. During a dinner at 5 months pregnant, I excitedly announced the baby's gender. Our baby is a girl. For a moment, there was silence. A girl? All a girl, huh? No congratulations. Elijah kept his gaze down, avoiding eye contact. I was stunned by their reaction. Does a baby have to be a boy to be welcomed? I ate my meal in frustration, unable to grasp the Wood family's mindset. The next day, the attitude shifted. Pregnancy isn't an illness. Stop being spoiled and work hard. Once it was known that the baby was a girl, the criticism and harsh treatment from my mother-in-law and the senior employees returned. Why can't a girl inherit the sweet shop? I felt heartbroken for my unborn child who wouldn't be welcomed with joy. I resolved to protect her no matter what. Elijah, you must have noticed how I've been criticized every day since marrying into this family. The treatment has become unbearable since they learned our child is a girl. One day, overwhelmed, I confided in Elijah. He looked distressed. Scarlett, I'm sorry. I'm still in training and can't oppose the family. Please endure it. If you master your role quickly, I'm sure the criticism will lessen. I'm happy no matter if our baby is a boy or a girl. Please take care of yourself. Elijah quickly retreated to the bath. Although he tried to be considerate, I felt disappointed by his lack of support. But as I rubbed my belly, I reminded myself that I needed to be strong for my child. I resolved to endure the mistreatment and criticism, focusing on the day when my baby would be born healthy and happy. In my in-laws' home, I was primarily responsible for cooking dinner. When I bought groceries, I'd pay for them first and then submit the receipt to my mother-in-law for reimbursement. This system made it difficult to buy the things I wanted, as she scrutinized every receipt meticulously. Because of this, indulging in my cravings was almost impossible. However, during my pregnancy, my cravings for sour and sweet foods became overwhelming. Should I buy it? But I don't want my mother-in-law to make snide remarks again. I debated this while shopping but never had the courage to purchase anything outside of necessity. One day, my craving for something sweet became unbearable. Feeling desperate, I finally turned to Elijah, who was working in the shop. "Oh, I'm craving sweets so much because of the pregnancy. Can I have some leftovers if there are any?" I asked him. "Sure, just wait a moment." Elijah secretly wrapped up some leftover scraps from the sweets making process, careful to keep it hidden from the other employees. Thank you, I said, but just then, my mother-in-law appeared. What are you doing here, Scarlett? Her eyes fell on the scraps in my hand. How shameless. This is the workshop for the artisans. You're not allowed to come in here anymore. She grabbed the scraps from me and kicked me out of the workshop. One day, while preparing dinner, I opened the fridge to find it stocked with high-end ingredients like luxurious Wagyu beef, items I had never seen before. Since I needed my mother-in-law's permission to use the fridge's contents, I asked her, "Can I use the food in the fridge?" "What are you talking about? That's for Natalie, who's coming back the day after tomorrow. Don't you dare use it." Her tone was cold. Natalie is Elijah's sister, who married into a farming family and is now 3 months pregnant with morning sickness. She's apparently coming home early, and I'm left feeling abandoned. I'm 7 months pregnant and have been enduring harsh treatment, being told that pregnancy isn't an illness. Overwhelmed by my situation, I decide to focus on preparing dinner with the remaining ingredients. On the day Natalie returns, my mother-in-law is unusually cheerful. She had initially opposed Natalie's marriage and seems thrilled to have her back after so long. "I'll cook dinner tonight, Scarlett, so you can take a leisurely walk." Her unexpected kindness catches me off guard. I seize the opportunity to enjoy the evening. The sky is so high. The sky, painted in hues of red, warmly embraces me as I feel the baby move inside me. "Mommy will work hard for you, so come out healthy and strong," I whisper to my unborn child. When I return home, I'm greeted by the tantalizing aroma of grilled steak. As I approach the living room, I overhear voices coming from inside. "Natalie, eat well for the sake of your baby." Peeking inside, I see my mother-in-law has prepared a spread of dishes for Natalie at the table. My father-in-law and Elijah are quietly eating steak. "What about Scarlett's portion?" Elijah's question catches my attention, and our eyes meet. "Oh, don't worry. I made some stew for her," my mother-in-law replies. Elijah, avoiding my gaze, says nothing more. I realize there's no steak for me. Unable to bear it any longer, I quietly retreat to our bedroom, trying to avoid drawing attention. Despite being pregnant like Natalie, I'm left feeling excluded. Tears flow uncontrollably as I think, why do I have to suffer like this? Neither my unborn child nor I am welcome here. I just want to leave. My tears continue to fall. After a while, Elijah enters with a cold piece of steak. "I brought you my portion," he says, looking genuinely remorseful. "I'm sorry it's cold, and I'm sorry for making you feel worse with my sister here. I should be more assertive, but I struggle with my mom and sister. My mom had issues with my grandma, so she probably thinks this is normal for a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship. My sister resented me growing up because I was the eldest son and received a lot of attention. She's always been unkind to me behind my back. They're both strong-willed and difficult, so honestly, I don't want to deal with them." "Your family issues have nothing to do with me," I respond. Even though he apologized, I realize that he won't necessarily protect me or our child in the future. Feeling even more despondent because of Elijah's unreliability, I eat the steak he brought, though I have little appetite, thinking of the baby growing inside me. Despite being high-quality meat, I can't taste it. I chew mechanically and manage to swallow it. Life becomes even more challenging after Natalie's return. "Scarlett, could you get this for me?" My mother-in-law orders, not hesitating to make me work despite my growing belly. "Natalie, you should rest until your morning sickness subsides." Meanwhile, Natalie enjoys being pampered by our parents and lounges around the house all day. Even though my belly is much larger, the situation is frustrating. For now, I have to endure quietly. "Scarlett, I brought some pudding for you." Elijah's quiet act of buying me food I craved, despite the harsh treatment I was receiving, was a small comfort. One day, I noticed Natalie's room was filled with high-end branded baby products and maternity items. I had only managed to buy everything from a cheap store on the outskirts of town. Both our children were to be grandchildren in the same family, so why such a stark difference? I tried not to let it get to me, but the disparity left me feeling very sad. On December 20th, I gave birth to a baby girl. Elijah's tears of joy were a rare and heartfelt sight. "I'll grow up quickly and protect both you and our child," he promised me with sincerity. When we returned to my in-laws' house after being discharged from a hospital, my mother-in-law surprisingly welcomed us with a smile. "Let me hold her for a bit," she said. I handed the baby to her, and as expected, she handled her with ease, likely due to her experience raising 2 children of her own. It seemed she truly cared for her grandchild. I felt a small sense of relief seeing her gentle demeanor. After a while, she returned the baby to me and pulled an envelope from her pocket to give to Elijah. "Here's a gift, $2,000. "What? That much?" I was taken aback, but Elijah didn't seem particularly surprised. Perhaps it was normal for this family to give such a large amount as a gift. Elijah handed the envelope to me without checking the contents, so I placed the baby in the crib before opening it. My eyes widened in shock. "What is this?" My mother-in-law looked away, smirking. "Enough already." I threw the envelope into the trash. "Hey, what are you doing?" "Apologize to my mom." Elijah's voice was urgent. "Would you react the same way if you saw this?" I retrieved the discarded envelope and showed Elijah its contents. Instead of the $2,000, it contained a bundle of receipts and invoices for luxury food and maternity items meant for Natalie. "What's the meaning of this, Mom?" Elijah's voice was raised now. "It's only natural for the eldest son's family to cover our household expenses," my mother-in-law retorted shamelessly. "Why should we pay for the maternity items and baby gear for Natalie, who married into our family?" I could no longer stay silent. I resolved to leave this house with my child. At that moment, Elijah's voice cut through the tension. "I'm leaving this house." "What?" The room fell silent as everyone, including me, stared at Elijah. He glared at his mother with an intensity I had never seen before. "What do you think we are?" "The way you've treated Scarlett, your reaction when you found out our child is a girl, and your constant interference with the shop I'm in charge of. I've tolerated it as the eldest son, hoping to protect the shop until I could prove my capability. But I've reached my limit. Our family is leaving this house. I won't be taking over the shop." "Thank you for everything," Elijah said, bowing deeply to his parents. My in-laws were left speechless and eventually exited the room in silence. "Scarlett, I'm truly sorry for everything. I'll protect you and our child. I decided to leave this house on my own. Will you stay by my side?" Elijah's face softened back to its usual gentle expression. "Yes, thank you for standing up for us. Let's face any challenges together as a family of 3. The next day, Elijah began searching for a new home. A week later, we moved into a small 2DK apartment, which despite its size, was a warm and comforting space for us. "Make sure you eat well and rest whenever you can," Elijah reminded me. To my surprise, our new home was only a 5-minute walk from my parents' house. Elijah is truly a remarkable person. It's rare for someone to admit their weaknesses and seek help as an adult. According to my mother, he had explained everything to her and apologized the night he decided to leave, asking for their support moving forward. "You can always rely on us. We're so happy you're close by," my mother said, and I was moved to tears by her kindness. Elijah occasionally receives messages from his mother asking to see their grandchild. But he only sends pictures. After discussing it together, we decided to maintain our distance from his parents for a while and didn't share our new address. Thanks to that decision, we were able to enjoy peaceful and happy days. "Scarlett, we're running out of diapers. I'll go buy some." Elijah actively helped with housework and childcare, and we cherish our modest happiness, living humbly each day. I began to think about starting my own business someday. Despite the path to inheriting his family's business being closed off, Elijah remained passionate about Japanese sweets. Since childhood, Elijah had been fascinated by traditional Japanese sweets. His dream of sharing their beauty and delicate taste with people worldwide, which he had shared with me before our marriage, remained alive in his heart. To make this dream come true, he decided to start an online store for Japanese sweets. I was inspired by his determination and wanted to support him. With the experience I gained from briefly working with Japanese sweets at my in-laws' house, I began brainstorming ideas while juggling housework and childcare. One day, I showed our child the Japanese sweets Elijah had made. Although our baby couldn't eat them yet, they seemed captivated by the gentle colors. Seeing their excitement sparked an idea in my mind. What if we create Japanese sweets that babies can eat? The image of adorable baby smiles and Japanese sweets merged in my mind. When I shared the idea with Elijah, he enthusiastically agreed. We set out to develop sweets using natural ingredients like sweet potatoes for sweetness, avoiding artificial coloring, and ensuring they were suitable for babies. After 3 months of development, we created the product we envisioned. We initially placed our sweets in a friend's Japanese sweet shop and received overwhelmingly positive feedback. Customers praised them as perfect for first meals and birthday parties. Encouraged by this response, we launched our sweets online, and they quickly became a sensation. The media picked up our story, and our company steadily grew. By the time our daughter turned 2, our business had stabilized, allowing us some breathing room. I suddenly thought of Elijah's family, whom we hadn't spoken to in almost 2 years. I had heard that Natalie, who had developed preeclampsia during her pregnancy and had been hospitalized, had to endure strict bed rest and dietary restrictions. Fortunately, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Unfortunately, the family's Japanese sweets shop had closed down after Elijah left. What happened to your parents after they closed the shop? I asked Elijah. He explained that they were living modestly on their pension. Although we didn't have many fond memories of them, they were still Elijah's parents. After discussing it, we decided to send them $2,000 as a birthday present, the same amount his mother had given us as a childbirth gift. We hoped that if his mother remembered, it might prompt some reflection. We received a message confirming that the money had arrived and that his parents were very happy. Though we weren't ready to visit them yet, we believed that time would heal old wounds. As long as we lived with pride, things would eventually improve. Childcare remained a challenge, but with my parents' support, I could focus on Japanese sweets with Elijah. "Mom, is this my candy?" my daughter asked, her eyes wide with anticipation. "Yes, Jerry. The cherry blossom petals are beautiful, aren't they? Do you like it?" "Delicious," she exclaimed, her face lighting up with joy. We had created a Japanese sweet designed for 1-year-olds, shaped like cherry blossoms and named after our daughter, Cherry. I hoped this sweet, like our child, would bring smiles to everyone's faces. "Mom, here. Open wide." My daughter fed me a piece of the sweet. The gentle sweetness melted in my mouth, and I cherished this moment. "Mom, I hope this blissful moment with Japanese sweets reaches people all around the world."
Don't worry too much about it. My mom's just really straightforward. You'll get used to it. Even when his mother's harsh words hurt me, Alec just brushes it off. I love him, but it does make me question if marrying him is the right decision. My name is Emmy. I'm 31 and work in an office job. Alec and I have been dating for 6 months, and we've recently decided to get married. It feels a bit hasty to commit after just half a year, especially since we still live with our parents and only see each other once a week. Alec has visited my place a few times, but I've never been to his. We're both in our 30s, me at 31 and Alec at 36, so it's natural for us to start talking about marriage. Alec is an only child and suggested that we get our own place rather than moving in with his parents. He mentioned he's already saved up for a down payment. He loves kids and promised to help with housework and childcare. I have no complaints about Alec. I love him deeply. I was over the moon about our future together, never expecting what would unfold at our wedding preparations. Meeting Alec's parents for the first time was part of our pre-wedding visit. I hoped they would be warm and welcoming, and at first, everything seemed fine. But as we settled on the living room sofa, his mother suddenly blurted out, "You're ugly." I was stunned. "You have buck teeth. It's not attractive." I couldn't see it properly before, but it's quite noticeable. "Didn't you have braces as a kid, or was your family too poor?" Her rapid-fire insults left me speechless. "I don't think it's that bad," I managed to reply, trying to mask my hurt. I had never felt self-conscious about my teeth before. "No, you look like a monkey. Why would Alec choose someone so unattractive? His father has better taste. Maybe Alec finds you exotic because he's used to beautiful women like me." Alec's mother continued to belittle me. Despite her heavy makeup, which made her look more tacky than attractive, she didn't hold back her insults. "There aren't many beauties like me," she said. "I take after Dad, so Emmy is a good match for me," Alec remarked, failing to stand up for me. Alec's father added, "Emmy, you might want to learn some makeup tips from my wife. It might help you look a bit better." His words were polite on the surface but still felt rude. I discovered that Alec's mother had won a local beauty pageant, a small-town contest, but it seemed her sense of superiority came from that minor achievement. Why did this family have such a high opinion of themselves over something so trivial?
And why wasn't Alec defending me? I was at a loss for words in the face of such rudeness. Alec's mother then smugly said, feeling hurt, "This is why I don't get along with women. They're so sensitive. I'm just honest. If someone said the same to me, I wouldn't care." I wanted to say, "You're a woman too," but I kept silent. Alec seemed completely unfazed. His father added, "My wife has always been this way, straightforward and honest. We rarely have conflicts. Emmy, you're lucky to have such an honest mother-in-law." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had no idea Alec's parents would be this intense. The visit ended in a blur. After the uncomfortable visit, Alec offered to drive me to the station. As we drove, I decided to bring up what had been bothering me. "Do you think I have buck teeth?" I asked. "I don't mind them," he replied. "Good. But why did your mom call me a monkey?" "She's just being honest," Alex said, shrugging. His response didn't satisfy me, so I asked another question that had been troubling me. "What did you mean by settling for me?" "It means we're a good match," he answered. I was taken aback. Was he suggesting I'm not as beautiful as his mother? Not only was he failing to defend me, but he was also being downright rude. I wanted him to at least offer a comforting lie, but I was starting to doubt whether this marriage was a good idea. I had my reasons for wanting to move out and get married. My brother Justin was already married and living at home. We have a large house in the suburbs with plenty of room, and I had planned to move out when Justin married. But since he and his wife Beatrice get along so well with me, I had stayed put. Still, I knew it was time to move on. When I got home, Justin had just returned from work. I asked him the same question. "Do you think I have buck teeth?" "What?" "No, I've never noticed." "Did someone say something? You were visiting Alec's family today, right?" "No, just curious," I replied, impressed by his intuition. A warning bell was ringing in my mind, telling me to reconsider the marriage. But I had come this far. I told myself we'd be fine as long as his parents stayed out of our lives.
The wedding day arrived, and with it, a wave of criticism from my mother-in-law. Despite my efforts to ignore her, her constant negativity was hard to overlook. I was focused on managing the many tasks at hand, and with the limited time we spent together, I hoped that once the wedding was over, things would settle down and we'd be happy. However, an incident marred what should have been a joyful occasion. During my boss's speech, which praised me warmly, I felt a mix of pride and embarrassment. As I glanced at my family's reactions, I noticed my mother-in-law. Instead of sharing in the moment, she wore a look of open hostility, which seemed to be fueled by too much wine. The table was cluttered with empty wine bottles. Then my mother-in-law stood up, walked over to the MC, and grabbed the microphone. The host looked confused, and I was at a loss for words. "Emmy is basking in the spotlight at work," she interrupted loudly, cutting off my boss. "I know who this boss is, but you're praising Emmy too much. She can't be that great. She's over 30 and still living at home, so she must be useless at housework. She's a defective woman. Even with makeup, she's still ugly." A stunned silence fell over the room. My boss stood frozen, still holding the microphone. "What are you doing?" "Stop this," I shouted, my voice reverberating through the room. My mother-in-law appeared dangerously drunk, and the situation quickly spiraled out of control. "I'm just telling everyone the truth. I'm exposing you for who you really are," my mother-in-law declared defiantly. "This isn't the time or place for that," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It doesn't matter. Women should speak their minds. If something's wrong, it's wrong. Your boss didn't praise you that much anyway. Gender doesn't matter here," I responded. "We're talking about interrupting a speech." As I argued with her, a realization hit me. Earlier, Alec's boss had mostly spoken about the company and barely mentioned Alec. That must have upset her, and the alcohol had only intensified her emotions. A daughter-in-law should obey her mother-in-law. Look how cheeky she is. She's not as wonderful as everyone thinks. But since the wedding has already happened, I suppose I'll have to discipline her. Please be kind to my buck-toothed, ugly daughter-in-law. With that, she plopped back into her seat and resumed drinking as if nothing had occurred. My father-in-law pretended not to notice, and Alec, sitting next to me, remained silent, even starting to eat the untouched food. The guests were bewildered, and the MC looked to me for guidance. The wedding was still in its early stages, and while I was seething over my mother-in-law's outburst, I didn't want to ruin the ceremony. I hesitated but eventually nodded to the MC.
Just as the MC was about to continue, Justin stood up. Is that all you have to say? Beatrice tried to pull him back, but he pushed her hand away. She looked at me, mouthing sorry, can't help it, before stepping aside. My parents seemed ready to confront my mother-in-law themselves. The ceremony had clearly gone off the rails. What did you say? My mother-in-law demanded. Justin repeated his words, his voice low and threatening. Is that all you have to say? Justin, towering at nearly 7 feet with a strong build from his rugby days, was visibly enraged and intimidating. You insult my sister in front of our family and relatives. You better be ready for the consequences. Alex, sitting beside me, jumped up from his seat. He stopped eating his steak and whispered urgently, Hey, Emmy, can you stop your brother-in-law? He's going to ruin our wedding. What? Your mom already ruined it. She's just speaking her mind. There's no issue. Your brother is threatening her. Seriously, the only problem here is her. If she hadn't insulted me, my brother wouldn't be so angry. Why should I stop him when you didn't stop her? Frustrated with Alex's response, I decided not to engage further. Let it be, I said, shaking my head at the MC, who was still looking to me for direction. No, I'm just being honest. I say what I think. My mother-in-law defended herself, clearly intimidated by Justin's presence. You think that's an excuse? Justin challenged. Can't an adult tell when it's appropriate to speak and when it's not? It was just a joke meant to lighten the mood, my mother-in-law replied dismissively. Don't take it so seriously. There's no need to get angry. It absolutely is a big deal, Justin said firmly. This is a wedding. It's not just about our family. There are many people here who care about Emmy. And you, who are supposed to be her mother-in-law, just insulted her in front of everyone. You basically announced that you intend to make her life miserable. Scattered applause broke out in response to Justin's words. I'm sorry, brother-in-law, Alex said, standing up in a futile attempt to defend his mother. My mom didn't mean any harm. Alec, you're apologizing to the wrong person, Justin shot back. And there are no excuses. If she meant no harm, why would she say something so hurtful? Well, my mom is just being honest, Alex said weakly. That's a self-proclaimed honesty, Justin retorted. Being honest doesn't give you a free pass to slander someone. Alec was left speechless, cut off by Justin's firm stance. Emmy, can you please stop your brother? He's ruining our wedding, my mother-in-law pleaded, her voice tinged with desperation. Yeah, Emmy, get your brother to stop. Don't make things harder for my wife and son, my father-in-law chimed in, backing up his wife's comments. It was clear they didn't realize the gravity of their actions. What kind of people are you? My father finally erupted. After ruining my daughter's wedding, you're blaming my son. This is a disgrace. You really want to push this to court. We're done with family ties, but we'll see each other in legal battles. Wait, suing. I just wanted a family where we could speak our minds, Alec protested. Emmy, we could still work things out, couldn't we? My mother-in-law attempted to soften her tone after hearing my father's words. Her sudden shift in attitude only fueled my anger further. So you think it's family-like to publicly humiliate your son's wife and ruin a once-in-a-lifetime event like a wedding? Well, my mother-in-law was at a loss for words, clearly intimidated by Justin and my father. The in-laws lowered their heads in silence. Let's call it a day, Emmy. You're making me really angry, Alex said, completely missing the seriousness of the situation and speaking to me with a defiant edge. I snorted in disdain. Alec was visibly terrified of Justin but had the nerve to belittle me. What a loser, I thought. What are you talking about? Alex said defensively. This is ridiculous. I didn't start this. Your mom did. And now you're blaming me. I glared at Alec and he looked away, clearly weak and submissive. What did I ever see in this guy? I wondered. I can't remember anymore. I can't marry you. This wedding is off, I shouted. Come on, we're in the middle of our wedding. Let's just forget about it, Alec pleaded. Those aren't words an offender should say to the victim, I snapped back. Ever since I met your mother, I've been considering calling off this marriage. I've been too slow to act. So you don't love me anymore? Alec asked, his voice tinged with hurt. I did love you, I said, my voice steady. That's why I agreed to marry you. I even tried to tolerate your mother. But I've realized that if you won't stand up for me at our wedding, you'll never stand up for me. As I made this declaration, A single round of applause rang out in the otherwise silent wedding hall. It was Justin, clapping in support. Soon, Beatrix, my father, and my mother joined in, and the applause grew louder. Even some of the guests from Alec's side began to clap, likely agreeing that Alec and his parents had crossed the line. The wedding was officially called off, and discussions of divorce began immediately. I hired a lawyer and sought compensation from Alec for the annulment and a settlement from his mother for defamation. A friend had recorded the entire debacle, providing me with solid evidence, and I had numerous witnesses among the guests. There was no way I could lose. I received a substantial settlement from Alec's family and compensation for the wedding expenses. I returned the gifts to my guests, who offered their support and kind words. I severed all ties with Alec and his family, but they were in for a difficult time. Alec's colleagues and bosses had witnessed the fiasco, so his work environment was likely tense, and rumors about his parents began to spread through their neighborhood. I started living alone, feeling a tremendous sense of relief. If Justin hadn't stood up for me, I might have ended up going through with the wedding and marrying Alec. I wouldn't be experiencing this newfound peace. I'm grateful to Justin for exposing the truth and ending the wedding. I had been living abroad, relying on my husband's savings, and even splurged on a luxury car worth $10 million. At my brother's memorial service, my sister-in-law arrogantly declared in front of our parents and relatives, "From now on, I'll be living off the life insurance and survivor benefits." I couldn't help but laugh at her smug expression. Oh! My laughter caught everyone off guard, and soon my parents and relatives joined in, chuckling. Confused and embarrassed, my sister-in-law turned bright red and demanded, "What's so funny?" Still laughing, I replied, "You spent all of my brother's savings, didn't you? My deepest condolences." "What?" She stared at me, utterly bewildered, as I revealed the truth she had been unaware of. My name is Ethan, a 28-year-old ordinary office worker at a mid-sized company, living alone and enjoying life. I had a brother, Caleb, who was 4 years older than me. He was a bit timid but incredibly kind, always looking out for me. Caleb was a good man and excelled in his studies, eventually graduating from a prestigious university and landing a job at a top company. When he started working, he moved out, but he still sent money to our parents to support them and gave me gifts on my birthday. We didn't see each other as often, but I loved my brother, and we jokingly compete over who would get married first. However, after turning 30, my kind-hearted brother suddenly stopped providing financial support to our parents. Our parents, never having asked for the support in the first place, didn't question him. They assumed he must have needed the money for something important. I was a bit concerned and reached out to him, but he just reassured me, saying, "Everything's fine, there's nothing to worry about." A year after the financial support stopped, my brother introduced us to his fiancée, Olivia, who worked at one of his company's subsidiaries. Caleb was considered a rising star at his company, quickly climbing the ranks among his peers. But I felt uneasy around Olivia, who spoke in a sugary sweet tone. It seemed like she was more interested in his rising career than in him as a person. As far as I knew, Caleb had little experience with women. I was worried, but seeing his happiness, I couldn't bring myself to say anything. Despite my concerns, Caleb married Olivia. I occasionally received messages full of affection from him, so I assumed they were happy. But after just 6 months of marriage, something troubling began to surface. My brother asked me for a loan. "Ethan, I'm sorry to bother you, but could you lend me some money? I need to cover an expense at work temporarily, but I don't have any cash on hand. I'll pay you back as soon as I'm reimbursed." It was shocking to hear my usually cautious brother say he was out of money. "I'm sorry, Caleb, but I'm in a tight spot myself right now." "That's okay, don't worry about it. Sorry for asking out of the blue. I'll figure something out." As soon as we hung up, I called home. "Hey, Mom, has Caleb been in touch with you recently?" "In touch? Did he ask you for money too, Ethan?" "What? He asked you and Dad as well?" "Yes, he's been calling us occasionally, asking if we could return any of the money he'd given us or lend him a little. It's really unlike Caleb to do that. Your dad and I have been talking about how strange it is. That's worrying. I wonder what's going on with him. We're planning to talk to him soon. Will you come, Ethan?" "Of course, just let me know when." And so a family meeting was arranged. On the day of the discussion, Caleb looked startled to see me at our parents' house. Why is Ethan here? Well, whatever. So how much can you lend me? He cautiously asked our parents. Caleb, you've always been so careful with money. What's happened that you're even asking your sister for a loan? Caleb's face darkened at our father's words. If you're not going to help me, I'm leaving. Wait, we're not finished talking. There's nothing more to discuss. Just leave me alone. Ignoring our father's pleas, Caleb stormed out of the house. I had never seen my brother so angry, and Mom and I were left speechless. I was worried about how pale he looked after all this time, but he wouldn't answer my calls. A while after that conversation, we got a call saying Caleb had collapsed at work. When we rushed to the hospital, we found him unconscious, hooked up to several tubes, looking even paler than before. Olivia was there too, perfectly made up and wearing designer clothes, despite supposedly rushing over. The doctor informed us that Caleb had terminal cancer and there was nothing more they could do. Upon hearing the news, Olivia burst into loud sobs. My brother was admitted to the hospital, and as soon as our parents left the room to prepare for his stay, Olivia turned to me. I'm too busy to take care of him. You handle it. The tears she had just shed seemed to vanish instantly, as if they were never there. As I stood there stunned, Olivia continued, her tone growing more irritated. It's really inconvenient for him to have terminal cancer when I still need him to bring in money. Don't bother contacting me unless he's about to die. With those cruel words, Olivia left the room. I was still reeling from the shock when my brother's voice broke the silence. Ethan, I'm sorry. I turned to see that my brother, who I thought was asleep, was awake. Big brother, when did you wake up? When Dad and Mom left. What you just saw, that's the real Olivia. She's only interested in spending money, and she sees me as nothing more than a source of income. So that's why you were struggling financially. I was thrilled when someone so glamorous showed interest in me. Even after I realized what she was really like, I couldn't let go because I was too infatuated. And now this is where it's led me. I'm truly sorry for dragging you into this. Don't apologize, big brother. I was at a loss for words, unable to find anything that could comfort him. After a long silence, Caleb spoke again, his voice steady and determined. Ethan, I can't die like this. I need your help. His eyes were filled with resolve. I took caregiver leave and arranged to work remotely, coordinating with my parents to care for my brother in the hospital. As the weeks passed, Caleb grew weaker, but we cherished the peaceful moments together, taking walks in his wheelchair when he felt well and watching movies to pass the time. Those moments, I believe, helped me come to terms with his impending loss. Less than 2 months after his admission, Caleb's condition suddenly took a turn for the worse, and he passed away. Olivia hadn't visited him even once after that first day in the hospital. Even when his condition rapidly deteriorated, she ignored our calls. When I finally reached her after his death, her response was disturbingly casual, almost pleased. Oh, really? I understand. In the days that followed, as we prepared for the wake and funeral, Olivia remained absent. However, she made a dramatic appearance at the funeral, crying loudly and declaring herself the family representative, as if she had been by his side all along. If only I had noticed his illness sooner. I went to the hospital every day and cared for my husband. I wanted to support him even more, she sobbed, clutching my brother's portrait and speaking through her tears. Anger welled up inside me as I watched her performance, but I held it in, knowing it wasn't the time to react. Our parents and relatives who knew the truth looked at Olivia in disbelief. After the funeral, Olivia approached my parents and me. I'll be filing the divorce papers tomorrow. We'll be strangers, so don't contact me again. You can do whatever you want with the ashes and the grave. It's none of my concern. But my husband's entire inheritance is mine, so don't even think about contesting it, she said, delivering her message without a hint of emotion before quickly leaving. We were too stunned to be angry. Just a little more patience, Dad muttered, and Mom and I nodded in agreement. Time flew by, and soon the day of Caleb's memorial service arrived. Even though Olivia had told us not to contact her, I sent her a message anyway. As our relatives gathered at our family home, reminiscing about Caleb, a luxury car pulled up outside. Curious, I looked out and saw Olivia, stepping out in a flashy suit and carrying a designer bag. Without hesitation, she entered the house and immediately began boasting. I've been on a heartbroken trip abroad. First-class flights and luxury hotels. It was all amazing. I couldn't hide my displeasure, but Olivia continued oblivious. He always told me to save money because he had none, but he was secretly saving. I used all of that money to buy that car. A $10 million luxury car. You must be jealous. Olivia, why are you here today? If you're just here to brag, take it elsewhere, Mom said, her voice calm and devoid of emotion. Oh, Ethan was the one who contacted me, even though I told him not to, Olivia said, throwing a glance my way before turning her attention back to Mom. But I'm here for a reason. I plan to live off the survivor benefits and life insurance, but I need some documents for the application. I'd like you to handle that for me, she added with a smug expression, holding out a paper detailing the insurance application process. What nerve! She had made it clear she didn't want us involved, yet now she wanted to use us for her convenience. I felt a surge of anger, but instead of lashing out, I found myself laughing. Laughter. Soon my parents and relatives joined in, filling the room with laughter. Olivia, completely confused, turned bright red and screamed, "What's so funny? Why are you laughing?" I managed to stifle my laughter long enough to respond. You spent my brother's savings, didn't you? My condolences. Did you what? My condolences, Olivia stammered, her confidence faltering. Yes, condolences. You see, my brother had debts, and I imagine the interest has piled up nicely by now. Oh, and by the way, the beneficiary of the life insurance, that was changed to me a long time ago. What? Wait, what do you mean? Watching Olivia's panic, I almost laughed again but held it back as I continued. My brother told me everything, how you demanded he work harder, how you belittled him, how you never lifted a finger around the house and spent all your time out, and how you abandoned him the moment he got sick. He resented you deeply. Do you really think he'd leave any money to someone he resented? I stared directly into Olivia's eyes, which were now filled with rage. I took out loans in my brother's name at his request. Since he worked for a major company, he could borrow a substantial amount, and we used that money to cover his hospital bills and funeral expenses. Thanks to that, he was comfortable in a private room, and we gave him a top-tier funeral. And as for the life insurance, my brother changed the beneficiary to me the moment he saw your true colors. That's a lie. It has to be. There's no way I'd fall for such a lie. Olivia's beautiful face contorted in anger as she glared at me, her voice rising in desperation. If you think it's a lie, why don't we check for yourself? I replied calmly, knowing full well the truth would soon dawn on her. Realizing from my unwavering demeanor that this was no bluff, Olivia let out a shrill scream. I'll renounce the inheritance. I don't want the debt. That won't be possible, one of our relatives, a cousin, interjected with a composed tone. You've already accessed Caleb's inheritance. This will be seen as an intention to inherit, so you can't just renounce it now. Olivia snapped back at the cousin, trying to defend herself, but the fight drained from her when she saw the business card handed to her. A lawyer? Indeed, our family had a cousin who was a lawyer. Caleb had been in contact with him, making sure Olivia touched his inheritance before learning about the debt. My brother had carefully timed everything, thinking through every detail. Olivia slumped to the floor, her bravado gone. She looked up at me, desperation in her eyes, and clung to my leg. Hey, you're his brother, so you're like my brother too, right? You should help me pay off this debt. We're family after all. What? What are you talking about? I recoiled in disgust. If you filed the divorce papers, then you and I are nothing but strangers. I have no obligation to help a stranger with her debt. My sharp tone cut through her pleading. Oh, and the apartment you're living in. That's in my dad's name, so you'll need to vacate it as soon as possible. I added, delivering the final blow before walking away, leaving her in stunned silence. Despite Olivia's protests, our relatives soon escorted her out of the house. After the memorial service, Olivia began calling me and our family home incessantly, begging for help. She was drowning in debt and facing inheritance taxes she couldn't afford. She sold her $10 million luxury car and all the brand name items she had ordered to cover the costs, but it wasn't enough. At first, I found her desperation somewhat satisfying and even answered her calls, but it quickly became a nuisance. When I finally threatened to report her to the police if she continued, the call stopped immediately. Olivia also refused to leave the apartment, so we served her an eviction notice through our lawyer cousin. When he reached out to her, she begged for mercy, but he firmly refused, warning her that any further harassment would result in legal action. Reluctantly, she moved out. Later, a relative informed me that they had seen Olivia entering a sleazy establishment rumored to offer questionable services. She looked haggard, her once beautiful appearance now faded, and it was clear she wasn't living a decent life. I stood before my brother's memorial tablet, hands together in prayer. Brother, your final act of revenge was a success. A sense of relief washed over me, knowing I had honored my beloved brother's wishes.
Are elites truly as impressive as they're made out to be? Probably. It's true that you can't become an elite without significant effort, but it's worth noting that hard work isn't exclusive to the elite. Even so, I've always felt looked down upon despite my own efforts. My name is Samantha. I've been married to Robert for 2 years. Robert, a certified public accountant, has a steady income and a secure career. I continued to work after our marriage, but my earnings never matched his, leaving me feeling inferior. Eventually, I accepted this as my lot in life. Being a CPA means not only a stable income but also the freedom to start a private practice. There's no mandatory retirement age and the job security is unmatched. Robert, as a tax expert, was in a league I felt I could never reach. As Robert's wife, I went out of my way to avoid any embarrassment. Then one day, my mother-in-law showed up unexpectedly. I was caught off guard, the house was messy, and I hadn't started any cleaning or laundry yet. What was supposed to be a leisurely weekend quickly turned into a frenzy. My mother-in-law, dressed in elegant clothes and stylish shoes, looked nothing like someone in her 60s. As soon as she entered, she began her usual barrage of critical comments. "Oh, Samantha, what's this? How long do you plan to sleep? A wife should wake up before her husband and have everything done. You can't slack off just because it's the weekend." I'm sorry. I'll take care of it right away. I expected Robert to defend me, but instead he joined in with the criticism. "She's always slacking on weekends. It's embarrassing for a CPA's wife to be so lazy. A CPA is an elite, and Samantha's job doesn't measure up. You need to understand Robert more. He's really struggling." Right. Samantha doesn't understand. She thinks just working is enough. Oh, that's unacceptable. She needs to know her place. I understand that, but you don't have to put it so harshly. What a troublesome situation. I'm concerned about the future. Well, never mind. I'm here for an inspection today. I need to check the place. An inspection? Yes, I'm moving in here. With Dad gone, it's inconvenient for me to live alone. I need to make sure this place is suitable for me. I was stunned. I hadn't been informed that my mother-in-law was moving in. I assumed it was a mistake, but it wasn't. She made this decision unilaterally without consulting me, which was infuriating. She was moving in without any discussion with Robert or me, and this was her idea of a house check. I was so frustrated I barely managed to speak. Then she began inspecting every corner of the house, casually referring to it as her house check. Mother-in-law, that's our bedroom. So, oh my goodness, you're going into the bedroom. It hasn't been tidied up yet. It's quite inappropriate to enter a couple's bedroom. Ew. Annoying as this is, I guess I should apologize. I'm sorry. She ignored my apologies and continued her thorough inspection of the house. I had no idea what she was looking for. After her inspection, she began to voice her complaints. This house won't work for me. It's not accessible. There are no handrails on the stairs. Plus, there's no proper room for me. I'm not going to stay in a cramped space like a dog house. I'll be using your bedroom. Excuse me, that's. Also, I need a traditional living room to feel comfortable. Please convert the living room into a traditional style. I can't do that. Do you have any idea how much the renovation will cost? Of course, Samantha should cover the costs. Robert has already contributed to the living expenses and bought this house. That's right. We haven't relied on Samantha's income due to the huge difference. But if you're willing to contribute, that's fine. Don't just make demands. What? You can't even handle that while living with my mother. It's not just about that. Making decisions on your own without consulting anyone isn't right, is it? What are you talking about? Consult with someone who's always been at the bottom. Don't make me laugh. Living with my mother is a done deal. Got it. My elite husband decided to live with his mother without consulting me.
Mom over you. Fine. He threatened me with divorce papers and I ended up going through with it. No matter where you go, you're worthless, Samantha. You have nowhere else to turn, so you have to stick around here, right? Or do you want a divorce? Look, I've already filled out the divorce papers. Do as you wish. I silently took the divorce papers from Robert. The next morning, before heading to work, I submitted them to the town hall. I was fed up with his constant belittlement. I may not be the most capable, but I work hard. Isn't that something? Even on weekends, when I was busy, Robert would demand things like, "We're out of juice, go buy some," or "I want sushi for lunch." I'd go shopping, iron his shirts, polish his shoes, and prepare meals for the week. I was constantly on the move with no time to rest, doing everything I could for him. I couldn't tolerate Robert and his mother's behavior any longer. That night, after submitting the divorce papers, Robert ridiculed me again. "What's this? You expect me to eat this? I'm sorry, I didn't have time today, so I bought pre-made food. You're a failure as a wife. This is unacceptable given how much I earn. You've always been at the bottom. I went to a state university with a high GPA, while you went to a mid-tier university with a low GPA. Plus, I'm a CPA, and you're just an employee at an unknown company. We're worlds apart. You need to be more aware of your place. As always, you're so harsh." It's not about being harsh. It's about recognizing your own level. It's dangerous not to be aware of it. It's not good for me if you're not up to par. Go get something that matches my level, high-end sushi or premium steak. Anything upscale will do. I'm hungry, so go buy something now. Isn't that what a wife is supposed to do? Well, that might have been the case until now. What do you mean, until now? What's with that tone? I'm done serving you. Please don't treat me like a servant. Be thankful that I've prepared anything at all. What? Is that a problem? I'm not your wife anymore. I filed for divorce this morning, so I'm no longer bound to fulfill those duties. What? What are you talking about? The divorce papers? The ones I gave you yesterday? Yes, exactly. You told me to handle them as I saw fit. They were already filled out and stamped, so I took it as your intent. Wait. I only gave them to you as a threat. What? After signing and stamping them, you're saying it was just a threat? That's hard to believe. Surely not. They were processed without any issues. Well then, if you're reconsidering, I won't change my mind. I had enough of this. It was convenient while it lasted. I'll pack up my things and leave this weekend. If you want me to leave sooner, that's fine too. Oh no, this is bad. I need to call my mom. I never thought my husband would be like this. I felt a deep sense of detachment. After filing for divorce, I had a moment of doubt, but that's gone now. I plan to pack up and return to my parents' home this weekend. Even though my belongings are minimal, it doesn't matter. The ease with which a marriage can end made me question what family truly means. Was it because we didn't have children or couldn't form strong bonds? I don't think so. The issue was our relationship. We couldn't connect on a deeper level. Regret is pointless, so I've decided to move on. Now that I'm single again, I'll focus on my work. I was feeling motivated, ready to embrace a new beginning next week. But then, while moving my things with a borrowed car from my father, I noticed my ex-husband pacing around nervously, refusing to help. An hour later, his behavior made sense. He was embarrassed about the divorce and had called my ex-mother-in-law in a desperate attempt to reconcile. When my ex-mother-in-law arrived, he rushed to explain things to her. She then approached me and said, "Samantha, you really do whatever you want, don't you? I don't approve of your decision to divorce. Do I need my parents' approval to get a divorce? You handed me the divorce papers right in front of you. You can't claim ignorance. You really don't get it, do you? That piece of paper was just a threat. Why would you take it seriously? Robert is an elite. Don't you understand the privilege of being an elite's wife? I didn't marry Robert because of his status." Privilege? What are you talking about? Being married to an elite is something rare and valuable. You had that. It's not right to just throw it away. We'll act like this never happened, so stop with the nonsense about leaving. I think it's you who doesn't understand, clinging to the status of an elite without contributing anything. That's you, isn't it? My ideal is a warm family. Being an elite doesn't make everything right. Earning money is fine, but what matters is the heart, a quality that seems to be missing in you and your son. Be quiet. You have no right to talk to me like that. How dare you? I'm not a daughter-in-law anymore. No matter what you say, I'm single now and will do as I please. Wait a minute. That's not right. My mother-in-law suddenly lost her assertiveness. I didn't care anymore and continued packing. I quickly left the house, not bothering with the confused expressions of those inside. I said, "Thanks for tolerating me. I'm sorry for being such a low-class wife. Please find someone with higher education and income for remarriage. Best of luck with that." I hurriedly left. Returning to my parents' home, I felt an unexpected sense of relief and comfort. My parents welcomed me with open arms, and I found myself tearing up. I realized how foolish I had been to cling desperately to such an arrogant husband. Seeing my parents reminded me of the warmth of family and the compassion of being human. I felt all the stress I'd accumulated explode away and fell asleep without even having dinner, sleeping soundly through the night. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed for the first time in a long while. I decided to cook breakfast for my parents. The familiar home-cooked meal was nostalgic, filled with mixed feelings and a realization of the time wasted. I had never expected to restart my life in my 20s, but my parents said it might be a lucky chance, and I agreed. I decided to focus on getting a professional certification and striving for a promotion. Then, a month later, while making hand-cut pasta with my parents on a weekend, the doorbell rang. Since neither of my parents could leave their tasks, I answered it. Standing at the door was Robert. "Robert, what are you doing here?" My ex-husband stood at the door, drenched from the pouring rain, without even an umbrella. Surprised, I impulsively invited him in. "Come inside before you catch a cold." Just then, my father appeared. Despite being in the middle of making pasta, he came over with a commanding presence. "Dad, what are you doing here? This isn't your place. Please leave." "Dad, Robert is soaked through. He'll catch a cold." I couldn't care less about him. He's the one who made you suffer. "But, get him out of here right now." At that moment, Robert fell to his knees, begging. I was stunned by the sight. Here was the man who once looked down on me, now pleading in a way I had never seen before. He began to speak. "Father-in-law, I'm so sorry for everything. Let me be direct. I want to remarry Samantha. I regret how I've behaved and have realized I can't live without her. Please, I beg you." "What are you talking about? It's too late. Leave. I can't manage on my own. I can't clean, do laundry, or cook. I need Samantha. I believe we can find a way to live together in harmony. My mother also wants peace. She's getting older, and if she can't move, it'll be over. Samantha, please help me. Can't you come back?" So that's it. Typical. Enough is enough. This isn't a joke. Samantha is not a housekeeper. Go home and don't come back. "Father-in-law? I'm not your father-in-law anymore. Stop calling me that." "Please, father-in-law, Samantha, help me." "Hey, wait a minute. Don't just throw me out." For a moment, I was almost swayed, but my father intervened. "He's just struggling because he can't manage household chores. He's clueless without Samantha. His mother just wants to lounge around, and apparently he couldn't get along with her or manage his own life, so he came here for help. They're constantly fighting, and it was nothing but stress. I'm not going back to that. Not after finally being free." So Robert was left with the task of handling all the household chores. Between work, cleaning, laundry, and other responsibilities, he was in for a tough time. He finally understood the extent of my efforts, but it was too late. They could face the consequences of their own making. Eventually, Robert couldn't cope and abandoned his job and life. I saw him for the pathetic figure he was. I found an apartment near my office, moved out, and focused on obtaining a professional certification, which I passed with flying colors. My salary increased, and I began to see the new side of myself. I was overjoyed and on cloud 9. This was just the beginning. There's so much more ahead. I won't be defeated. I'll keep moving forward, no matter what. Seriously, what is this? She can't even make a decent meal. The mother-in-law's voice echoes through the kitchen. "Hey, that's out of line," I retort, but I know it's pointless. Talking back only invites more trouble. "Don't you dare talk back to your mother-in-law," she snaps. Despite my husband defending his mother, I feel utterly alone in this. I used to think about ending this life, but now I've given up on those thoughts. I'm Alicia, 32, a nurse at a local hospital. Married for 5 years, Henry and I have been trying for a child, but it's not happening as we hoped. The night shifts at the hospital are taking their toll on me. I've been contemplating a change, maybe a less demanding job. A former colleague who quit to get married now works at a nearby clinic's reception. I can't help but envy her. When I first got married, I never considered quitting my job. Henry wanted me to focus on housework, but I was determined to keep working. I feared that if I left, I wouldn't be able to return. Now, with all my close colleagues on maternity or parental leave, I've had to pick up the slack and have risen to second in command. It's fulfilling to have hospital-wide responsibilities, but the ticking biological clock weighs heavily. Shouldn't we start thinking about kids? I once brought it up to Henry, but he dismissed it with a casual, sure, when the mood strikes. Henry and I are the same age. We met at a party when we were 25. He was a true gentleman, always well-groomed and charming. I fell for him immediately, and after a few dinners, we started dating. Everything seemed perfect until we married 2 years later. Now he's gained weight and rarely smiles. Our relationship feels more like a partnership than a marriage. We barely have time for meaningful conversations. I secretly think that having a child might be the only way out of this rut. Then there's the issue of my mother-in-law moving in without any prior agreement. It started about 3 months ago after my father-in-law passed away. Though she lived just a 5-minute drive away, her visits became increasingly frequent. One day, I came home exhausted to find her in our house. She'd made a copy of our key and essentially moved in. Later, I discovered her house had been sold, leaving no chance for her to move back. Mother-in-law, this apartment is for 2 people. We can't just have you move in. I said, trying to be diplomatic, but it was futile. How awful. You want to kick out an old lady? Dusty Bear told me you have an extra room, so I'm doing you a favor by living here. I'm your husband's mother, so just be respectful and deal with it. Her condescending tone makes things worse. Our relationship was never great, and living together has only intensified the tension. And Dusty Bear, really? It's strange hearing her call him that. Even more unsettling is when Henry calls her mama in my presence. I suspected he was a mama's boy when we dated, but witnessing it firsthand is overwhelming. I've heard that a man's treatment of his mother often reflects how he'll treat his wife. I used to find Henry's kindness towards his mom endearing, but now it seems like all his affection is directed at her, not me. I've tried to discuss the living situation with Henry multiple times, but it's getting us nowhere. Dustin, we never agreed to this. Can you please talk to your mom? She's been feeling lonely since Dad passed away. She lived close by anyway, so it's not a huge change, right? He always dismisses my concerns as if they don't matter. Living together is far more stressful than simply living nearby. I'd even be okay if she rented the apartment next door, but sharing our small 2-bedroom is unbearable. We have full-time jobs, so finances aren't the issue. It's just finding the time to look for a new place. How about we start looking for a new apartment on our next day off? We need more space. You're the one who wanted to save for when we have kids. Stop changing your mind. Besides, Mom is helping out around the house. Isn't that beneficial? You're fine with this because she's your mom. I wanted to scream, but it wouldn't change anything. We're at an impasse, whether it's about moving out or living together. Today, I came home to another set of demands from my mother-in-law. There's a Halloween tea party at Glenda's next Tuesday. Can you prepare some treats? Next week, my shifts don't allow me to go shopping. Could you buy the ingredients yourself? I declined, checking my work schedule. She has the time and resources, so why ask me? With a smirk, she replied, store-bought treats would be embarrassing. Homemade is the way to go to avoid duplicates. Oh, you mean the ingredients? What are you planning to make? I won't have time to shop. Before I could finish, she interrupted. You're so clueless. Obviously, you're the one who'll make them. You're so useless. Another verbal jab. I can't do it. I don't even have time to shop, let alone bake. Please handle it yourself. I tried to explain, but she wasn't interested. It's clear who should be handling this, a full-time nurse with a demanding job or a retiree with plenty of time. Still, she persisted. Pumpkin cupcakes are easy. Just make sure the packaging is Halloween-themed. If you cut into your sleep, you'll find the time. Forget, and you'll regret it. She left me with that ominous remark and retreated to one of the 2 bedrooms. Why is this my responsibility? I was already exhausted from work. and this conversation only drained me further. Doesn't she understand how crucial sleep is for someone in my line of work? I felt a twinge of relief imagining her showing up empty-handed, but I couldn't ignore her. Last time I didn't meet her demands, she spread rumors that I was cheating on my husband. Clearing that up with the neighbors was a nightmare. Tuesday arrived and I sacrificed 3 precious hours of sleep to bake pumpkin-flavored cupcakes. They looked adorable in their Halloween packaging. Surely my mother-in-law would be pleased. But when she saw them, she sneered. "What's this? You made these? Wow, you're talented at wasting ingredients and money. Ha." I thought I matured, but her disdainful words were unmistakably aimed at me and my cupcakes. "I followed your instructions exactly. What's wrong with them? And it's really unfair to criticize me after making me do this." Before I could finish, she revealed a bag wrapped in department store paper. It was clear she never intended to bring my treats. She just wanted to make me do the work. Rage surged within me. I felt like a fool for actually making them. I was done being her puppet. "What's in the bag, mother-in-law? You had me bake, and then you went shopping yourself? Why are you always so cruel?" "Oh, did I say that? Just throw those trashy, uninspired cupcakes away. I couldn't take them to the neighborhood tea party now." I wanted to scream at her, but managed to hold back my frustration as I prepared for work. After barely 3 hours of sleep, I needed to find a way to change this living situation and avoid my mother-in-law altogether. Why was Dustin okay with me enduring this? Tears of frustration welled up in my eyes as I headed to work. 2 months have passed since that incident, and today is New Year's Eve. We've managed to avoid major arguments, but that doesn't mean I've accepted this living arrangement. I've kept conversations with my mother-in-law to a minimum to maintain my sanity. The hospital is exceptionally busy during the cold season. It might not seem like much compared to doctors, but with the surge in appointments for vaccinations, this is the busiest time of the year. We're overwhelmed, covering for the doctors, and barely keeping up. 5 years into our marriage, we didn't do anything special for Christmas. With my mother-in-law living with us, it was hard to find any holiday cheer. I had thought about taking a trip for New Year's, but Dustin wasn't interested. "Let's just relax at home during the long holiday." "Why don't we take a break too, Alicia?" Just then, my mother-in-law walked in with a bright expression. "It's New Year's Eve. Have you prepared a special breakfast? You wouldn't skip that, would you?" Both Dustin and I were caught off guard. We usually went to his parents' house to make a special breakfast together. When I asked a month ago if we were doing it at our place this year, my mother-in-law had said, "I'll make it myself this year. There's less to prepare since your father passed away." Looks like we were tricked again. Dustin, who should have been aware of this conversation, said, "Mama, we can relax this year." "Alicia, you better start cooking or we'll have nothing to eat." What a mess. My mother-in-law had promised to make it, but do we even have the ingredients? Both of them played dumb. If only she would help. Of all times, she brings this up on New Year's Eve when stores close early. I rushed to 3 different supermarkets. Even 24-hour stores were running low on supplies due to last-minute shoppers. Dustin and my mother-in-law were comfortably watching New Year's specials in the living room while I was stuck cooking. Dustin asked, "What about seafood dishes?" I checked the time. New Year's was just an hour away. With pots filled with meat and beans, takeout was my only option. "Sorry, I'm swamped. Can you grab some takeout?" "Seafood?" Dustin, who had no intention of going out, left reluctantly. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't bring anything back for me. And why seafood this year? We've never focused on it before. As expected, Dustin returned with seafood for just the 2 of them. Here I was, making sure there was food for us, while he set the table for the living room. He didn't even offer to help, knowing I was struggling to prepare everything on my own. Making a special breakfast takes time and effort, and I was exhausted from rushing. By dawn, I finally finished. The dishes looked good, and I hoped there would be no complaints. With that thought, I headed to the bedroom. Just 2 hours later, I collapsed into bed, only to be awakened by noise in the kitchen. My mother-in-law and Dustin, who had gotten a good night's sleep, were probably eager for their special breakfast. Then Dustin walked in with an unbelievable announcement. "We're going out. You're probably tired, Alicia, so you'll stay home, right? Or do you want to go out for brunch?" "What brunch?" My foggy brain struggled to process this. "Wait, you want to go out for brunch now? I made a special breakfast. We don't need to eat out, right?" "Well, yeah, but I'm annoyed. Dustin replied vaguely. I went to the kitchen and was horrified to see my mother-in-law about to throw away the food I had stayed up all night making. Hey, what are you doing? This trash is inedible. Huh? I thought I'd do you a favor and throw it away. Starting the new year with this? No way. I managed to grab the food from her, but some vegetables fell to the floor in the process. Why is this happening to me? As I picked up the fallen vegetables, tears started rolling down my cheeks. Dustin, seeing this, put on his jacket without offering any help. All right, let's just go have brunch by ourselves. Alicia, take care of the rest. And with that, they left for brunch, leaving me behind. This situation can't continue. If we have a child, I can't raise it with Dustin. After cleaning up, I decided to eat the special breakfast I'd made. It's not bad, if I do say so myself. Sure, it might not be as good as the special breakfast my mother-in-law makes every year, but considering I made it in a rush, it's decent both in taste and appearance. As I sat down to eat, the intercom rang. Who could it be this early in the new year? When I opened the door, I was stunned and decided it was time for a little revenge. 3 days later, I was packing up the last of my things. All right, this is the final box. All that's left is to talk to my mother-in-law when she gets back. Just then, she stormed in fuming. You've embarrassed me. What are you going to do about it? She shouted. What's the fuss? I haven't done anything, I responded calmly. Her face turned red. The neighbors are laughing at me. They're asking if I'm bullying my son's wife. They heard about the special breakfast. Clear up this misunderstanding right now. I didn't spread any rumors, but isn't it true? I retorted, realizing the neighbors had probably been gossiping about the New Year's meal. And what about Halloween? They think I wasted the treats you made. Now no one will invite me for tea. On New Year's Day, Elisa, a neighborhood leader, had unexpectedly visited me. We typically just exchanged pleasantries, so her concern was surprising. She noticed the tension between me and my mother-in-law and mentioned that she was aware of the unusual arrangement. It must be tough with your mother-in-law moving in, huh? She's been telling everyone that you and her son suggested living together. But everyone knows Crystal is just a neighbor and you're still young. They sense something's off. Elisa's words lifted my spirits. I hadn't realized how much my intrusive mother-in-law was talking about us outside. When Elisa asked if I had any other stories, I shared the incidents with the special breakfast and Halloween. It seemed my mother-in-law's outrageous behavior had become the talk of the town, and I couldn't be happier. She had brought this on herself. If she continued to complain, worse things might come her way. Haha, what do you mean by worse? Elisa laughed. I've lived in this neighborhood for years. If you cross me, you won't be able to walk outside. My mother-in-law tried to mimic my tone, but then the home phone rang. I answered it and handed it to her. Her face went pale. What? The neighbors are watching a live stream of this room right now. What's going on? I showed her my phone, which was propped up on the TV stand. I had been live streaming her bullying tactics using a method Elisa had taught me. What is this? She tried to grab the phone from me, but I explained that the footage was already live. About 20 people were watching since it was a holiday. Realizing breaking the phone wouldn't help, she fell to her knees, begging me to stop the stream. I was wrong. I've done terrible things. Please stop the stream. We won't be able to live here if people see this. Ignoring her tearful pleas, I replied, the one who won't be able to live here is you, not me. I'm staying. She was furious but understood that her exposed bullying meant she could no longer move freely. Her face turned blue as she begged for help. Then let's all move far away. Don't abandon me. You're really clueless, I said. Dustin and I are getting a divorce. You're a stranger now. Please leave within a week. Haha. I packed a box in front of her. It's trash to me, but I've packed it for you. Yes, the items I was packing were for my mother-in-law and Dustin. I had already discussed the divorce with Dustin the night before, and he had filled out the paperwork without much fuss. I found him an apartment closer to his work, so there was no trouble. Perhaps he thought he didn't need to do housework because his mom was around. From what I heard through the neighborhood network, Dustin and his mother, who had moved to the next town, were having a lot of issues. She was causing a scene at his workplace, demanding to be shown around because she was his mother, which led to rumors about them being an odd mother-son duo. This negatively affected Dustin's chances for promotion and caused him public and private humiliation. I couldn't believe that something like this happened to my former in-laws without me even knowing. I'm grateful to the neighbors who supported me and hope to help others who are being bullied by their in-laws in the future.